Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 8 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Orochimaru. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. You didn't really think we came unprepared for your demonic chakra, did you? One of the enemy ninja asked Fu. Oh, I'm not stupid, but you don't know what all I can do. Fu taunted. And now your position has been given away. The assaulting ninja grimaced at that, realizing her chakra was meant to be a beacon for backup more than anything. So much of their plan had been based on catching her alone and off guard. They could handle her not being one or the other, but not both. Not on guard and with support. Our only hope is to act fast. The leader of the group, a man named Suian, thought. Everyone, suppress her now. Oh no you don't. Fu said before she took a deep breath. Ninja art ash from a solar flare dust jutsu. She exhaled an arc of yellow powder that quickly ignited the oxygen in the area and reflected the light from the ignition at the same time to create what looked and felt like a solar flare. Instead of hitting the ninja, it hit the building behind them, but they were blinded by the jutsu and unable to see that. The building's wall cracked and fell over, burying them in rubble before they knew what was coming. That was very disappointing. Fu told herself. They went down that easily and yet they thought they could restrain me. Dumbasses. The altos appeared beside her. Everything okay? Yeah, just 4 idiots trying to capture me. And there should be at least 2 in the lower apartment that need to be taken too. I'll go get those ones if you want to dig these 4 out. Fu replied. Morning came and Naruto was the first to wake up. Hinata did not want to let go of him, and if he didn't know better he'd swear she was using chakra to reinforce her hold on him. Well, there's no real reason I have to get up right now. He told himself, relaxing in his wife's embrace. Then there was a knock at the door. Except maybe that. He mentally groaned. Despite his desire to stay in bed, Naruto decided to get this over with. A quick use of ghost body allowed him to escape Hinata's hold and he went to the door, keeping the bloodline active since he was at the moment too lazy to turn it off. Yeah? He asked when he opened the door. Before him were 2 men, both wearing black robes with red clouds decorating them. Aside from that they looked nothing alike. One looked normal with black hair, but the other had a blue face and blue hair. Both wore Hitai Atesh that had slashes across their symbols, one wore the symbol of Konoha and the other bore the symbol of Kiri. Naruto Uzumaki. The black-haired man asked. Sorry, you have the wrong room. Naruto said before closing the door. Whoever they are, they can only be bad news. How do I keep them from getting Hina-chan involved? 2 seconds later the door to the room was broken and the 2 ninja went inside. They saw it was empty, the only signs that anyone had been in there were some ruffled blankets and tossed clothes. Damn kid sure is fast Itachi. Maybe not Kisame. I can still hear breathing. Holding their own breaths, the 2 listened closer. This time Kisame heard it too, noting it was very steady, as if someone was simply asleep. Itachi activated his Sharingan, and on the bed he saw a blur that hadn't been there before. A dull blue blur, like chakra but out of focus. Nice try making yourself invisible Naruto, but no genjutsu can overpower the Sharingan. Itachi stated. Naruto came back into visibility, seated on the empty bed. Who said I used a genjutsu? And just because you haven't seen a genjutsu that can overpower your eyes doesn't mean such a genjutsu doesn't exist. Or ever will, even if not in your lifetime. True, but you are still coming with us. Can I at least ask where you intend on taking me? Naruto asked. You can, but we're not telling. Kisame said. Then I guess I won't tell you where I'm going. Naruto said before getting off the bed and running to the wall, running right through it much to their surprise. Did he just? Kisame asked. No time, capture him. Itachi said, and the 2 missing nin followed the now white-haired boy. Neither one of them noticed that the breathing they heard had really come from Hinata, who was invisible thanks to a jutsu Naruto could use only in ghost body. Itachi never noticed her because Naruto's chakra signature blocked her own when he sat on the bed. And as long as Naruto didn't return to the hotel or she stayed asleep, they would never know she had been there in the first place. Invisible, Naruto hid just outside the hotel breathing as quietly as possible. This invisibility won't work for long since one of those guys has a dojutsu. But I don't dare switch Kekkei Genkais now and leave myself vulnerable for 9 seconds. On the other hand, I have maybe 6 minutes at the most left with Ghost Body. I have to get rid of them or hide well enough to switch to something more effective than my scare tactic bloodline. If one of them has a Sharingan, that will make things tough. Right then something in Naruto's mind clicked. Wait, Sharingan. Could that have been? He was cut off by Itachi appearing suddenly in front of him. Found you. Now come with us. He began to raise his hand as if to poke Naruto in the eyes. Naruto avoided him by moving through the wall behind him, saving him from Itachi's attempted genjutsu. Interesting. He has powers we were not informed about. This will complicate things. Where is he? Kisame asked, appearing beside his partner. He went back inside, going right through the wall might I add. Kisame raised an eyebrow. Is that even possible? I'm just telling you what I saw. In one of the rooms designed to hold Oto's prisoners 2 men were seated. To be more precise, they were tied up to their chairs. In front of them was a masked woman with long brown hair and a white mask covering her entire face. Hello gentlemen. I am she, the head of this village's T&I department, meaning I'm the best at cracking your heads open and getting the secrets you don't want me to know. Ooh, I'm so scared. One of the men sarcastically taunted. Not yet, but you will be. She told him, then grabbed 2 spikes, the kind used when building railroads, and a hammer. Want start off simple and painless, or do I need to work my way up to sheer agony? Hit me with your best shot. The second man told her. Wish granted. She said before she placed one of the spikes over that man's right foot, which thanks to being tied to the chair he couldn't move. With a single strike of her hammer, she pounded the spike through his foot into the floor. The man was obviously hurt, but he suppressed any scream. Trying to be tough, huh? That's nothing new to me. She commented, looking over the man. This one she just hurt was wearing a white hood and a black lower face mask, making his green eyes the only identifying features he had. Part of her wanted to remove his hood and mask, but she left them on, out of concern he had some sort of trap that would go off in such an event. Some ninja did have those on their person so the enemy couldn't examine their bodies if they died. Other than that, he wore a black cloak with red clouds and sported a slashed tacky hitai-8. That shit won't work on me. I relish pain. Jashin-sama loves it. The other man told her. His face was openly revealed, but his most identifying feature was his slick silver hair. He wore the same outfit the masked man wore but no hitai-8 was visible. She guessed his was slashed as well and wondered if he came from Taki like the others. Then let me give you what you want. She said before pounding her second spike into his left foot. Fuck that hurts. Damn it. This man apparently enjoyed pain much less than he had claimed. You'll never get anything out of us. The masked man stated. I can try. She said, putting down her hammer and grabbing a black kunai, twirling it with her finger in the loop at the end. See this. This kunai is carved from obsidian. Obsidian can be especially dangerous since even if it's poorly sharpened it can still cut like a razor. Meaning the whole, cut you with a dull knife, threat is still lethal with this weapon. For an interrogator you're doing a poor job. You should be asking us questions, not showing off your toys. The masked man stated. Oh, I know how to do my job. You want questions? Here's one for starters. I'm told you two were trying to abduct a girl last night, but you fell victim to the traps she has in her house. Tell me, why were you after her? The silver-haired man laughed. You seriously have to ask that. Fuck, you're a dumbass bitch. We were after her because she's a Jinchuriki. How did you find that out? She asked. From those stupid ex-Taki nin. The masked man told her. We came across them on our scouting missions and they said they intended to take Taki's renegade Jinchuriki and offer her as a trade for the hero's water. Since we were looking for Jinchuriki we decided to assist them, only until the Jinchuriki was actually in possession. So those 4 arrested are separate from you, just tools to make finding and capturing her easier. She noted. How did you find her or this village? The silver-haired man smiled. That was easy. We checked Taki's records to get a description of the Jinchuriki and found out she was in a village named Oto. Someone in our group had a sleeper agent stationed here so they were woken up and came to us to tell us how to get here. A sleeper agent in Oto. How did that happen? She asked herself. So with the agent getting here and finding her was a breeze. The one thing we were misinformed on was how well protected her home was. The silver-haired man added. Why were you after her? Why would you want a Jinchuriki? She asked. We'll never tell. She pressed an intercom button. Bring me the stuff needed for a waterboard. Yes, Shi-sama. The voice on the other end replied. Still refused to tell. She asked, crossing her arms. I'm not afraid of water. Me neither. Who are you working for? She asked. The masked man looked amused. You want to know? Okay. We work for a group that intends to harness the power of all Jinchuriki for ourselves. With it, we can have everything. Money, and other stuff of course. You and your money. The silver-haired man said, rolling his eyes. Jashin-sama has no need for such mortal vices. Your so-called deity wouldn't know how to pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were written on the heel. The masked man claimed. Obviously these two are assigned together rather than working by choice, meaning this group of theirs is organized rather than random, and whoever makes the decisions must be capable of reinforcing their choices to make them work together despite their friction. She noted. How do you plan to use the Jinchuriki? We don't. We plan to kill them and take their biju away. The masked man answered. The door opened and in came an alto carrying a bucket and a blanket. Here you go, Shi-sama. They said before leaving. Good luck. I know for a fact we have to be on our backs for the full effects of this torture method, and with our feet stuck to the ground that can't be done in these chairs. The masked man stated. Then I'll have to cut the feet off. She countered, holding her obsidian kunai. Unless you want to tell me what your real goal here is. You don't believe us? The silver-haired man asked. I was taught never to take the first answer at face value, especially when I don't have to work hard to get it. She claimed. Torture us all you want, you cannot kill us. We will escape from here, kill you, and be back for the Jinchuriki. The masked man insisted with conviction. She put down her kunai. Damn, they forgot the other thing I wanted. Wait right here, gentlemen, I won't be long. She said before leaving the room. That should get them to sweat a little. If not, what I have in mind sure will. Going to the supply room, she grabbed what looked like a cattle prod you plugged into the wall. She came back to the room 2 minutes after she left, but both of her captives were gone. Back inside the hotel, Naruto found himself in someone else's room. A young woman in her 20s who was in the process of getting dressed. Fortunately for Naruto, she couldn't see him, but if he messed up she'd hear him. Closing his eyes, Naruto moved as quietly as possible to walk out the room. Thank you, Haku-chan, for the silent killing lessons with your dad. I really owe you one now. He opened his eyes and found himself in the hall. Okay, now's my chance. He deactivated Ghost Body and began the countdown to the next time he could activate another bloodline. 1. Before he could get to 2, Itachi and Kisame appeared at both ends of the hall, trapping him. Crap. Good, you'll realize the futility of hiding from my eyes. Itachi stated. Let me ask you one thing, are you Itachi Uchiha? Yes. The same Itachi Uchiha who allegedly killed an entire clan by himself in one night. Naruto added for emphasis, but mostly to buy him more time. How many Itachi Uchiha do you know? The missing nin rhetorically asked. Naruto stepped forward. As much as I'd prefer to run, I promised someone important to both of us I would try something if I ever encountered you. Looks like now's my chance. He didn't show it, but Itachi was curious. Who could possibly be close to both of us? Why waste time talking? Let's just subdue him and get out of here. Kisame insisted. Not so fast, I want to hear this. The Rogue Uchiha stated. They said they know why you did what you did, but do you truly know why you had to do it? Naruto asked Itachi. Itachi looked confused, then bothered. I don't know who you're speaking for, but if you're implying what I think you are, then you and this person are too late to do anything about it. I did my part, the rest is up to you. Naruto replied. Please, let it already be 9 seconds. Yes, I will. Itachi said, ready to use his Sharingan to overwhelm the younger boy's mind. At that moment Naruto managed to activate his Neo Sharingan. Doing so protected him from Itachi's Genjutsu, but it would take more than that to get out of this mess. The Uchiha noted the whiskered blonde's now orange eyes. Confused, he ultimately decided it wasn't going to save the boy. Tsukuyomi. Extreme Tsukuyomi. As expected, Itachi found himself in a barren landscape lit only by a red moon overhead. What he didn't expect was for Naruto to not be bound in any form. Nope, the blonde looked as free as he himself was. I had a feeling you'd try that. Luckily now the playing field is even. Naruto said, standing before Itachi with his arms crossed. You've used Tsukuyomi against me at the same time I used it on you. Itachi realized. Two genjutsus clashing like this are bound to cancel each other out, especially such similar ones. Naruto nodded. True, but my eyes are designed to counter your own. So I designed my genjutsu to keep us here for as long as I want, up to 72 hours of course. In that time we both are free to do whatever we want. Then I suppose us fighting each other would in the long run prove pointless. Itachi noted. Naruto shrugged. Maybe. So instead of fighting, let's talk. What do we have to say to each other? Itachi asked. I'll tell you who the message came from if you tell me why you're after me. Naruto stated. I suppose that can be done, since you knowing won't change a thing. The Uchiha commented. I am part of a group of A to S ranked missing nin banded together, working to collect all the demons sealed inside others so our leader can use them to end the ninja system once and for all. By killing off all other ninja, leaving you guys the only ones left. Naruto asked, not liking the idea one bit. Someone has to remain to ensure there are no other remnants. Itachi stated. Basically it's the whole world domination ploy. Naruto summarized. Most people outgrow that idea by the time they're 6. Most people don't have the power to make it possible, but we do. Itachi countered. And you actually think the others in your group are going to share this power? Naruto asked. You said these are missing nin of very high rank all working together for a common goal. Even I know that you don't become a missing nin by being cooperative. You're all cooperating now because it suits your intentions, but once that's no longer necessary someone is going to decide to keep the power for themselves. I'm well aware of that. Itachi confirmed. So you're working in an organization that's pretty much a ticking time bomb, and that organization intends to destroy our entire way of life. Naruto clarified, not buying it. Why would you think this is a good idea? You wouldn't understand. Anyway, I've upheld my part of the deal. Now you tell me who your contact is. Alright, it's someone you should be quite familiar with. Your mother. Naruto answered. Itachi's eyes hardened dangerously. Don't lie to me, boy. I'm not. Your mother survived your little slaughter and has been with my allies all this time. She's like an aunt to me, and she taught me how to do this genjutsu we're in right now. Naruto replied. You lie. Itachi repeated. Why would I lie about that, Itachi? You could just as easily prove me wrong if I was, and let's face it, after this you're going to be tempted to confirm whether or not she's dead. Naruto said, fearless. He's right. Try as I might to ignore it, he's planted a seed of curiosity in my mind now. Itachi thought. But if you were to let me go, I could get your mother to greet you somewhere specific so you can see for yourself. As long as you're not going to finish what you started 6 years ago. Why should I believe you? Itachi pressed. Because I'm your own chance. Naruto answered. Interested. In the outside world only mere seconds had passed without Itachi or Naruto showing any interaction. Kisame stood off to the side waiting for Naruto to fall limp so they could take him to aim. Naruto and Itachi jerked at the same time, and Kisame was ready to do his part. To his surprise, Naruto was as conscious and alert as ever. Itachi's genjutsu failed. Impossible. I don't know what you did, but we still will bring you in. Itachi declared. Let me get him, Itachi. The boss needs him alive, but the boy doesn't need legs or anything for what we'll do to him. Kisame offered. What will stop him from bleeding to death then? Itachi asked his partner. Kisame didn't have an answer for that. Naruto leaned against the wall, feeling tired from the extreme Tsukuyomi. But just when he deactivated his Neo Sharingan to conserve chakra, something he hoped not to see came into sight. Naru-kun. Hinata. Run. He shouted at his wife who was at the end of the hall. Ah, so he wasn't here alone after all. Kisame noted with glee. Without another word he came right at Hinata almost too fast for her to see. On reflex Hinata activated her Byakugan and attacked him with the Tsurudokan. To her horror, it appeared to have no effect on him. Nice try little girl, but I've got too much chakra for one Hyuga technique to affect me. Kisame announced. I've been called a Biju without a tail because of my vast chakra. He is bleeding chakra, but his reserves are keeping his body from being in any immediate danger. This guy won't go down easy, even if I use the Juken instead. Hinata considered, eyeing his chakra network. Naruto ran past Itachi and stood defiantly between his wife and the fishman. Try anything and I'll kill you. Kisame looked amused. I'd like to see you try. I'll even give you a free shot. Naruto was grateful for that and started a series of false hand signs to buy him time to use a different Kekkei Genkai. I have to make this one count, or else we're finished. Done with the fake hand seals, Naruto chose one more bloodline to use. He cocked his fist and punched Kisame in the stomach. The ex-Kiri nin didn't feel a thing. Is that it? Kisame taunted. It's enough. Just wait a few seconds. Naruto replied. Bad idea kid. Going for a delayed react, Kisame started, but suddenly disappeared into his clothes which billowed down to the floor. Itachi was quite surprised. What did you do to him? It's like Kisame just vanished. Look for yourself. Naruto insisted, holding his out to point at the robes, where something began to squirm under them. Curious, Itachi came over and moved the robes. Under them he saw Kisame, but he no longer looked normal. Instead, the shark-like shinobi looked like a one-year-old baby. What in the world? Itachi asked, using his Sharingan to see any deception but found none. At that moment he felt someone punch him. Oh crap, I inadvertently gave Naruto an opening. But I thought he. Itachi couldn't finish that thought, for he too became an infant. Hey, I knew age control would come in handy in fights. Naruto stated, looking very worn out. The one flaw to age control is the effect isn't instantaneous. The subject ages or de-ages slowly rather than right away. I can make the process quicker but that results in a delayed start first. What was going on Naru-kun? Hinata asked, coming up to him to support him since it looked like he didn't want to stand up anymore. Naruto sat down in the hall with her next to him. Long story short, these guys are from some group trying to collect Jinchuriki. I tried to get them away from here so they wouldn't harm you, and I tried to find out more about them at the same time. Turns out one of these guys is Subsonic's older son. The one that tried to kill her. Naruto nodded. I was able to get a lot of information out of him. He was either overconfident or merciful, but he told me what the threat was. I threw him for a loop by telling him he could see his mother alive again if he let me go today. Why would you do that? Hinata asked. He's an S-ranked missing nin Hina-chan. Even with all my bloodlines there was never a guarantee I could get away from him. I had to find some sort of leverage over him and that was the only kind I saw. Naruto explained. Plus I wanted to see his reaction. If he cared about his mother or not. She may not say much about her sons but you know Subsonic cares for them both, even this one. But what do we do now? Hinata said, glancing at the two new babies. Can you summon a slug and have it take them to Oto? I'm too tired to take them there directly or summon anything myself. Naruto said. Using the extreme Tsukuyomi was tiring enough, but add in the several changes between bloodlines in such a short time and Naruto was worn out. Hinata nodded. Yeah, I'm in no mood for our personal time to be over just yet. Back in Oto, Tsunade was in a park watching her son Isato run around with a few other kids his age. She sat on a bench watching his every move but quite happy to just watch. My little boy, I'm so lucky to have you. I owe it all to Naruto, and of course Jiraiya for helping me conceive. I wonder what Dan would think if he saw me now, a mother and wife to my old teammate who's still perverted as hell but only acts on it around me. I bet he'd be happy for me and wish us all well. Dan was that kind of person. All of a sudden a large slug appeared in front of her, briefly startling her. Tsunade-sama, I have a delivery for you. From who? From a Hinata Uzumaki. The slug replied. Right then Tsunade noted that on the slug's back there were two black bundles containing two human babies and a note pinned to one of them. This should be interesting. Tsunade said as she took the children off the slug, seeing the blue skin on one and pure black hair on the other. Obviously not Naruto and Hinata's kids but that should be a given. She then read the note and the slug went away. Tsunade-sama, while we were relaxing here, two missing nin attacked Naru-kun this morning. Within the hour of you getting this note, assuming the slug gets to you quickly, that is. One of them was positively identified as Itachi Uchiha. Oh, that could go bad so quickly. Tsunade thought. The other ninja wasn't positively identified, but he bore the symbol of Kiri. They came there to take Naru-kun away with them, but they didn't seem to have any plans for me. Naru-kun did his best to get them away, but couldn't do it for long. Naru-kun said he was able to get some information out of Itachi regarding the plan. The Uchiha stated that there is an organization in existence that is working on taking all the Jinchuriki for themselves, and all members are missing nin at a ranking of A at the very least. Is that what happened to Fu last night? Tsunade asked herself, not entirely clear on the details of that incident last night just yet. Naru-kun says he tried to talk Itachi into letting us go on the grounds that Subsonic could see him later at an agreed-upon time. He says Itachi initially agreed and was going to stage an accident to let us escape, but it didn't look like that was going to happen, so Naru-kun had little choice but to subdue them both completely. The two babies you see are the two nin I'm referring to, subjected to age control. I trust your judgment in what to do with them until we return, though I should point out I think Subsonic should have a say in what to do about her son. See you when we return. And if you see any of the other girls, tell them to work on their stretches because I can barely walk without limping. That last part was more than I needed to know, but this is good. And bad. Tsunade thought. The good part is we're warned and can get prepared. The bad part is this group may be able to find Oto soon if they haven't already and put us all at risk, and with two members unable to report back they're going to see Naruto as a major threat to themselves and do something about him. Which makes me wonder if it's better in the long run to keep these two here under observation or return them to normal and let them go but therefore able to send others in their place later. Thinking it over, Tsunade couldn't come up with an answer. As she thought it over, Jiraiya came to her. Hey dear, what's this? Babysitting. Look at this, Jiraiya, she said, giving him the note before looking back to her son. The toad Sanin read the note. I see. The others aren't going to like this. Tell me something I don't know. Shizune's got a date tomorrow. Tsunade blinked and turned to him. Excuse me. That's something you don't know. Jiraiya joked. But this is more important. What have you been able to determine? Orochimaru asked she, Oto's version of Ibiki. It appears that 4 of the ninja captured last night originated from Taki Otokage-sama. She started. Technically, there are 5, but the 5th one was part of a separate group. You're in good company, you know. You can take the mask off. Orochimaru told her. Sorry, Otokage-sama, sometimes I forget it's even on. She said before removing her mask. Her face was pale but quite lovely. She had no unique features except for her light brown eyes and a small burn mark above her left eyebrow. Her hair was held back with clips in a way where only her left ear showed, her right ear covered by her hair. Age-wise she appeared to be in her 30s. So go on. What did you find, Shi-san? Or should I use your real name? Orochimaru continued. She shook her head. No, this is still business, so I prefer my business name. Anyway, 4 of the ninja that tried to abduct Fu-san were excommunicated shinobi from Taki. Their original crime had been trying to steal Taki's famous secret tool, the Hero's Water. Apparently these 4 decided that they could trade Fu-san to Taki for it. Taki probably would have accepted the trade, even if it meant going behind the Takikage's back. Orochimaru thought out loud. But how did they learn where to find Fu-san? This is the first breach of Oto's security. She nodded. That was my first concern too. As far as I knew, the only people who can find Oto are those who already have been to it. My original theories were the following, that these 4 or one of them were originally part of our village when it was founded, then disappeared to come back later, that they tricked the daimyo with a false mission request in order to be brought here, or that the inevitable discovery of our hidden village has already happened. So what did they say? She sighed. This is where it gets difficult, Otokage-sama. If what they said is the truth, it was neither of those. You see, I'm talking about 4 of the captives, but there were 6 arrested. The remaining 2, they were actually separate. They came here with the 4 to abduct Fu-san, but they had no intention of bringing her to Taki. So 2 members had a separate agenda the other 4 were unaware of. Orochimaru asked. It seems so, but those two are the ones who found Oto. One of them said it was done via a hidden sleeper agent waking up. She responded. A sleeper agent. Someone placed a sleeper agent in Oto. When? Orochimaru asked himself. It had to be Taki. They always did intend to take Fu back when her training was adequate enough that they didn't have to do much more themselves for it. They must have known I knew their intentions and put in a contingency plan. But Otokage-sama, the two captives that actually interacted with the sleeper agent had no intention of bringing her back to Taki. She corrected. I think Taki is actually innocent in this. No one here was acting on Taki's orders. Then whose orders were they acting on? The snake Sanin asked. The four original captives were acting on their own, like normal missing nin. The brown-eyed woman asked. But the other two? I got the feeling that the only reason I got any information out of them was because they let me. They told me about the sleeper agent, they told me they were after Fu-san, they told me it wasn't for Taki, and they told me they were coming back for her. How can they come back for her if they're trapped? Orochimaru asked. My thoughts exactly. As an interrogator, I know that something is wrong when the subject doesn't need to be tormented to get information out of them. The worst kind of person for us to encounter is not the one who refuses to talk, but the one who has no reason to withhold information. Such a person is basically telling us that even with information it's too late for us to do anything against them. And sometimes they're right. Let's hope now isn't one of those times. The pale ninja stated. So what happened next? This may not have been the wisest thing I could have done, but I wanted to test their conviction. She admitted. I left the room, using the whole, what comes next tactic my old sensei taught me to get them to panic a bit, but when I came back they were completely gone. All traces of them, gone. Orochimaru got rigid in his seat. You didn't forget to lock the door, did you? Of course I locked the door. The formally masked woman confirmed. I tied them up, pinned their feet to the ground, I even had the equipment for waterboarding ready. When I got back the chairs were right where I left them, the spikes were still in the floor, and the door was still locked from the inside. It was as if the two had never been there in the first place. But the other four captives were still in their cells. It had to be clones. Highly advanced clones if they could withstand the physical pain of spikes through their feet. Orochimaru commented. It couldn't be genjutsu. That's your specialty. You would have seen right through it. However they escaped, they left a note that self-destructed. It said, we know where you are and what you have. Next time you won't be able to stop us. She added. Orochimaru took a calming breath. We will have to ensure Fu is safe for the time being. Same with Naruto since it's likely they will come for him too. Can you describe these two ninjas? She nodded. Yes. These were the two ninja that fell into Fu-san's traps last night. One had silver hair and purple eyes, the other had a white hood and black lower face mask, making his green eyes the only part of him I could see. He wore a slashed Taki Hitai 8, but I saw no Hitai 8 on the other. Both wore black cloaks with red clouds. When I asked who they worked for, they didn't give a direct answer. One said he was just trying to get money and I think the other said he was working for a Jashin-sama, which from the context I can only assume is some sort of pagan god. Both had high chakra levels, almost as high as your own if not higher. But both of their chakra felt unnatural. Unnatural how? She paused to think of the best way to describe it. I was sensing their chakras together, unable to determine which one was creating which type in the small room. But the feeling I got was, I can only describe it as cold and chimerical. Chimerical chakra. Orochimaru repeated. That's a strange term to use. It felt like there were more than two people's chakras blended together in that room, like someone had taken chakra from multiple chakra sources and mixed them together in one body. Like if Naruto was using all 9 of his Kekkei Genkai at once. The feeling would be chimerical to a sensor. She insisted. Whatever the proper term to use is, the important thing is we need to be prepared for a second attempt to kidnap our two Jinchuriki. For now keep this under wraps. We don't want word getting out that Oto is no longer off the map so to speak. I'll tell the Altos so they can prepare accordingly. Yes Otokage-sama. By the way, off the record, what is the progress on my personal request? She asked. I'm already on it. You'll get your answer in less than a month, now that we have an expert to look into it. The snake Sanin said with a grin. In Konoha several people were trying to regain a sense of normality, but at night they could sleep like always. But on this night, one family couldn't, or to be more precise, wasn't allowed. Damn it, what the hell are you doing? Unkai Kurama yelled as he fought off a pair of masked ninja who had broken into his home. Both wielded ninjutsu and he was fighting with a pair of kunai, forcing him to block more than go on the offensive. That is not for you to know. One of them stated before trying another slash at the Kurama clan head. Unkai blocked, but this was just a decoy to divert his attention away from the other ninja who attacked from behind. Unkai blocked from behind without having to turn around. You think I got to be clan head by being weak? Unkai taunted. No, you got it because your brother and his wife died. You're just a seat filler. The second ninja replied. Then how come I'm still fending you off? Unkai rhetorically asked. Are you? The first ninja replied in the same tone. The attacks continued and Unkai kept blocking them both, but now his certainty was tested. Is he trying to mess with me? His words if true imply that they're only letting me fend them off. Which means. He silently gasped. Outside in the forest, Yakumo was currently running from her home. I have to find myself some cover, buy myself time to come up with a way to fight back. Yakumo had been awakened by an intruder breaking into her room and trying to apply chakra suppression seals to her before she could react. However, Yakumo's reflexes were much better than anticipated and she got out of her bed before the seals could make contact with her. On instinct she grabbed her sketch pad and made a run for the forest around her house, hoping to lure the enemy away from her home to avoid further damage to it. The artist came to a stop and hid behind a tree, trying to sense out her surroundings for her pursuer. Feeling a bit safe, albeit cold since she was out in her nightgown, she looked over her sketchpad. Okay, what do I have here I can use if I have to fight? I brought no weapons so genjutsu's my one tool here. She flipped over the cover, looking at drawings meant to be used as genjutsu mediums in place of her paintings. Paintings were more effective for her, probably because she could put more detail into them, but drawings worked too when she needed something quicker and more convenient to carry around. This one should work well, she said, settling on the first picture in the book. Once I find this person that is. Yakumo, am I too late? A familiar voice said before a familiar face appeared. Sigh. What are you? Not now, others might hear. The pale boy warned. I saw some ninja head this way and got concerned. You're not hurt are you? Yakumo shook her head. Good, come with me. Nodding, Yakumo followed her teammate as he tried to escort her back to the main part of the village where attacking her would be risky. Or at least, that's what he was supposed to be doing, for her sense of direction was telling her otherwise. Sigh, this is the wrong way. Yakumo whispered. No it isn't. He simply countered. Despite her gut telling her this was a mistake, Yakumo trusted Sai to help her. It also didn't hurt that she was a bit sweet on the boy since they had a common interest, art. Though Sai didn't seem to care about his art, he was talented, and that's what impressed her more than anything. She didn't have a crush on him, but she found him to be pleasant company compared to Shino. After they were away from the Kurama compound, in a forest that separated them from the basic streetwork of Konoha, Sai brought them to a stop. Mission accomplished Danzo-sama, he said to the trees. What? Yakumo asked, suddenly confused, and feeling something akin to, I should have known, in the back of her mind. From out of the shadows, as if he had used a jutsu that made them hide him even better than they would have naturally, the bandaged crippled old man walked out into the moonlight. Good work Sai, as always. Wait, I was told you were killed in the invasion. Yakumo managed to say, having been told Sarutobi and his elder advisors were all killed by the Oto and Sunanin. The deaths of Homura and Kaharu were the only ones that actually happened in public though. Let's just say reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. Danzo said smugly, feeling a bit high on himself for having cheated the Oto shinobi who killed his double. Yep, the Danzo that the Oto nin had killed in his base was nothing more than a well-made double of his. Not a clone, but someone he cast a very high-quality genjutsu on to make them look like, sound like, and even have Sharingan like him, until moments after his death when the double's true identity would be revealed. Fortunately Danzo also had arranged it so a weaker genjutsu would trigger if the first genjutsu failed, keeping up the image of Danzo on the corpse, in order to deceive any people still around. Basically he did to someone what Itachi did to Yura in the Gaara rescue arc. Then why didn't you reveal yourself right after the enemy left? Yakumo added. A cautionary necessity, in case some remnants remained to kill more while we were frail. I suspect some such remnants are attacking your home now, and we should get you to safety. What about my uncle? Forget him, he's unnecessary. You're the one who needs to be taken somewhere. Danzo said, and if his words were meant to comfort her they instead got the exact opposite result. My uncle may mean nothing to him, but he means something to me, and I need to go get him. Yakumo thought before darting away. Sai was about to go get her. Stop Sai. Danzo ordered. Danzo-sama. Let her go off. This will help break her down so I can build her up again in my image. The Warhawk said with a villainous grin. Yakumo ran back home, looking through her sketchpad in hopes of finding one of her drawings that would affect more than one person at once. A weakness of genjutsu is that by its nature it works best when done to a minimum of targets, preferably just one. Spreading it out was not impossible, but it diluted the chakra and weakened the illusion considerably. Sometimes enough that it was ineffective. So far the only person known to be able to cast genjutsu on several people simultaneously without fail was the late Fugaku Uchiha. Yakumo's genjutsus, while no doubt powerful, were still basically genjutsu in terms of creation, so therefore they followed the same rules to start. It was merely the end result which was different than normal genjutsu. Her paintings allowed her to affect more than one person, but simpler pictures got better results than complicated ones. The more specific her art was, the harder it was to affect more than one person as intended. Sort of like trying to cut two people with just one swing of a sword. Okay, this will do for two or more people, she said when she found a suitable drawing. When she got to her house, she froze. The two masked ninja had Unkai cut and bleeding profusely and worn out enough that he was struggling to hold his head up. Once the Kurama clan head realized these two were merely a diversion, they stopped being a diversion and got serious in their attacks. Needless to say they broke through his defenses and now had him at their mercy. Unkai was on his knees with each ninja holding back an arm as if ready to rip it off. Save yourself Yakumo. He managed to yell out. Don't even try it girl. If you do we'll kill him then go after you. And don't bother using one of your genjutsus on us, we'll be sure to kill him before you can get him away from us. The ninja holding Unkai's right arm back countered. Yakumo frowned, no longer the afraid to fight girl they were likely prepared for. Don't bother huh? I think not. She then showed them one of her drawings, which depicting two different sets of arms having their hands severed behind the wrists and blood spurting out. The results came far too quickly for the masked ninjas' likings. Each felt a cut on their arms and saw their hands become severed, cut off by some unseen blade. They tried instinctively to break the genjutsu, but Yakumo's genjutsus weren't illusions, they were real. Some say art imitates life, but in my case life imitates art. She thought before putting away her sketchpad and running to her uncle. But before she could reach him, she felt a pull on her whole body, and her vision briefly blurred before she saw Danzo in front of her. Enjoy your little escape, he teased. What the heck just happened? Yakumo asked herself, and looked around only to find she was away from her home, as if summoned away. Not wanting to wait long enough to be given an explanation, Yakumo fled again, finding her way back to her home. The two masked ninja who lost their hands to her genjutsu were trying to stop the bleeding, but some masked comrades of theirs had arrived to finish the job, and Yakumo showed up as soon as one of them plunged a nodashi in one side of Unkai's neck and out the other side. The young brunette froze solid in horror, and had she been of less stable mind her ID demon might have come out right then. But thanks to Naruto, that wasn't going to happen, so she remained still, having difficulty accepting the sight she just saw. Right away the uninjured masked ninja left into the woods, leaving Unkai to drop to the ground. That snapped Yakumo back to reality and she went to him. Unkai Oji-san. The man wasn't dead yet, but unless treatment was given he was about to be in a few moments. With his last bits of spare energy, he used his blood to write something on the cover of Yakumo's dropped sketchpad, then passed out. With teary eyes, Yakumo looked at his message. Safe. And sound. What does that mean? Rather than get an answer, she felt a strange tug on her and she found herself in front of Danzo again, who was surrounded by the very masked ninja she had seen kill her only direct living relative. I hope you realize that escape is futile. You have nowhere to go, the rest of your clan won't take you in once I get involved, and even if you run, you will always come back to me. What are you doing? Why me? Yakumo asked, still crying and holding her sketchpad to her chest. You've been of great interest to me for a number of years. The ability to manipulate reality itself on the level you can, it's exactly the kind of power I crave. If you utilize it properly, you could slaughter enemy armies without wasting a single kunai. Maybe even control the very thoughts of people like daimyos without anyone being aware of it or able to prove it. With you in my possession, trained the right way, I can finally realize my destiny. Yakumo was stunned that his man saw her power as nearly godlike and intended to dominate her use of it like a tyrant. He saw her as a weapon of mass destruction and political corruption, and he fully intended to have sole say over how she used it. Something about his claim didn't make sense though, and once she realized that she frowned. Let me guess, the reason you weren't able to do anything to me sooner was because of my mental instability, right? Unfortunately yes. Thanks to your little split personality problem my training methods would have done more harm than good. The risk of you becoming a monster who'd use your powers against me was too great. But I never lost interest, so I had Sai placed on your team to monitor your progress and see if you ever showed promise. Yakumo looked at her smiling teammate, feeling a bit betrayed. All this time you've been spying on me. You knew what he wanted. Danzo-sama is the rightful ruler of Konoha. His will is law. Sai answered, still smiling. Now it bothered Yakumo more than it usually did. Now it seems you're mentally fit to undertake my training. Once I removed your emotional ties now and make it look like you died tragically so no one will search for you after tonight. Danzo added. Yakumo realized this was no ordinary kidnapping anymore, if anything this was closer to an abduction because Danzo had no intention of returning her after being given a ransom. No, he intended to keep her. And in case you're thinking of leaving again, don't waste your energy. Danzo warned. Years ago when Sarutobi was tending to your problem, I managed to place a seal on the back of your head under your hair where no one could see it. I couldn't take the Hiraishin for myself, but I was able to make this version that brings you to me rather than me to you. So anytime you try to leave, past, present or future, I can make you come to me with little effort. Understand? That's all we needed to hear. A hidden voice said before a few blurs were seen and all masked ninja had their heads cut off by unseen assailants. Danzo, Sai, and Yakumo were spared but on high alert. How could someone get here without me knowing it? Danzo asked. He was close to revealing his main hidden Sharingan, i.e. the one actually in his eye socket, but he wanted to withhold that for later. He did get his right arm out of its holder though, but still wrapped up. One ninja appeared in front of Danzo, standing close to Yakumo. This was Makoto Uchiha in her subsonic persona, this time sporting an Oto Hitai 8. She quickly grabbed Yakumo, placed a piece of paper on the back of her head, then substituted with a large rock, taking Yakumo with her. A two-person substitution with one inanimate object. Danzo asked himself, realizing what the enemy ninja had done. Never mind that, I can still get the girl. He tried to activate Yakumo's seal, but she did not appear before him. Damn, that shinobi has somehow negated the seal's power. Sai, start looking for her, they can't have gotten far. Not with a mere substitution jutsu, especially one that used more than one person. Yes, Danzo-sama. The pale boy said before departing. Danzo himself made a call out for more root, but not too many because he couldn't risk the rest of Konoha learning of what he was trying to do while they still believed he was dead. When the smoke cleared, Yakumo saw she was in a forest but nowhere near her compound. Nothing looked familiar. Where am I? What do you want from me? She asked, fighting Subsonic's grasp. To her surprise, Subsonic released her without a problem. Yakumo Kurama, there is no need to be afraid. She started. I've been watching Konoha for years, learning of the dark things the people running it have been trying to do without the populace knowing. I don't know everything, but I've known for years regarding Danzu's plans regarding you here. I couldn't act on your behalf sooner because of the very seal he placed on you. If I had, he would have been alerted and any chance at saving you might have been lost forever. But now that's no longer a problem. My only intention here is to release you from this seal that would result in only misery for you if it remains. How do I know I can trust you? Yakumo asked. Nothing I do can convince you right now, but not trusting me means Danzo will get his hands on you sooner or later. Subsonic told her. Looks like I have no choice, but something tells me that if this person wanted to control me they wouldn't remove something that restricts me. Yakumo thought before submitting. Thank you. Now, since this seal on you is based on the Yondaime's Hiraishin, that makes removing it difficult. Only someone of his caliber can remove it from you. Yakumo looked depressed by the claim, then heard someone approach. Or maybe the Yondaime himself can remove it. Minato said as he came into view. Found them. Sai thought while kneeling in the bushes, looking at Yakumo, Minato, and a masked Kunoichi. He pulled out his scroll and quickly got to work on drawing some reinforcement. In the middle of his work a number of kunai impaled his paper and ruined his drawings, making them unusable. Before he could draw any more or make a counter move, one of Subsonic's masked assistants came up behind the pale boy and knocked him out with a blow to the back of the head. One drawing got away intact, a black mouse that scurried as fast as it could move. Subsonic smiled and Yakumo was frozen in shock. We suspected that the seal was similar to the Hiraishin, but we couldn't risk removing it without full understanding. Which we never could get without drawing attention. Now we know for sure, and now we can remove it. Subsonic told the young Kunoichi. How could you even learn of my seal in the first place? Yakumo asked. That would be the work of my assistant Flat. Subsonic admitted. I never said I do this job alone. Minato knelt down and pulled off the paper stuck to the back of her head. This here was an anti-Hiraishin seal, one created by me in case my jutsu ever got used against me. No one in Konoha knows it exists, so the old man after you has no way to counter it. Before we go any further, I'll see if I can remove your seal here. Yakumo nodded and allowed him to check. He moved her hair as best he could to check on it, but it kept obstructing his view. It's no good, I can't do anything without shaving the back of her head first, and doing that here would be dangerous if someone from Konoha shows up. Our best bet here is to take her to Oto where I can work in peace. So no matter what, I'm being abducted tonight. Yakumo grimly concluded. Do I have any genjutsu that can fend off the Yondaime? This is a rescue, not an abduction. Subsonic reassured her. Besides, there's someone in Oto who wants to see you. Someone we know you want to see too. That confused the genjutsu enthusiast. Who could that be? The only one from that village I have anything close to a connection to is the boy who healed my mind. Why would he want to see me again? Minato tensed. Hide. He quietly warned the two women. Subsonic nodded and substituted with a log taking Yakumo with her, while Minato used a flash step to dodge a wind jutsu coming from an unseen threat. That looked like a great breakthrough jutsu. He thought when he flash stepped back into place while Subsonic and Yakumo remained in hiding. Show yourself Shimura, unless you're too feeble to do something without your root in front of you. Danzo emerged from the woods, glaring at Minato. You've got some nerve betraying the village you led and died for. Minato returned the glare 100-fold. The mere fact you feel I'm in the wrong for my decision, knowing full well why I made it, only proves my decision could not have been less wrong. I'm actually glad you're gone. Now I can take the Hokage seat for myself, which it should have been all this time. You'll have to live through the night if you want to be Hokage. Minato threatened. Danzo didn't look worried, instead he revealed his Sharingan but not his arm. You may be good at taking down Army's yellow flash, but how good are you at fighting someone one-on-one? You're making a mistake, Danzo. Minato stated, not looking bothered by the claim Danzo just gave. I don't make mistakes. Mistakes are for amateurs. Danzo arrogantly declared, reading a series of hand signs. Wind-style vacuum blade rush jutsu. With a chakra-enhanced exhale Danzo shot out 3 intersecting white blades of empty space that could theoretically cut through anything. Minato threw 3 tri-kunais around the area to give him some leverage. Using the first tri-kunai he jumped to inside a canopy behind his opponent, avoiding the jutsu that cleaved several trees instead of him. Before Danzo could locate him, he charged a Rasengan and pounced at the old man's blind spot. Rasengan! Minato shouted. Inches away from his back, Minato in a shocking twist ended up going through the Warhawk's body. What? Landing on the ground, he quickly rolled and jumped to the second tri-kunai marker before Danzo could catch him off guard this time. Danzo smirked and turned around looking for Minato. Is something wrong? Can't hit an old man. Minato soon started to shiver, thinking of the night when Naruto was born and he faced the masked interloper who started everything that led to the present. He slowly looked at Danzo with hate. That was almost the same thing that happened 12 years ago. Tell me Danzo. Minato's voice soon became dark, then he took a deep breath. Was it you? Are you that masked man that was responsible for Kyuubi attacking Konoha? Danzo merely raised an eyebrow. So the Kyuubi showing up wasn't random chance. It seems an Uchiha was truly responsible for that attack, an Uchiha that Namikaze was unable to defeat. Hearing this new piece of information made him decide to toy with the former Hokage. I'm flattered you think it might have been me, but sadly it wasn't. But tell me Yondaime, Itachi Uchiha is with Akatsuki and they're after the Biju, so how do you know it wasn't Itachi who caused the attack? Itachi had nothing to do it. He was too young. So which Uchiha attacked Kushina? Minato replied. Slowly getting into a stance, he then charged towards Danzo using a spinning high kick from above. Danzo blocked the kick with both arms. Grabbing onto Minato's leg he placed a Juinjutsu on the former Hokage, one meant to ensure the muscles in the affected area were frozen. Now I got you. The Warhawk smirked, then Minato quickly vanished in a yellow flash appearing back to the first marker. Damn, he placed a Juinjutsu on me. Thinks I don't know this type of seal. Well he's wrong. Minato thought. Quickly taking a normal kunai he threw it to the ground near Danzo. Shadow Clone Jutsu. One clone appeared alongside Minato, and the clone dropped down to the ground, getting Danzo's attention. The real Minato quickly took out an ink brush and started to draw a few symbols on his leg. With a surge of chakra the Juinjutsu was removed and he could use his leg again. Let me tell you something Yondaime, after I defeat you and show Konoha my power, the first thing I'm going to do is get the Kyuubi and turn its power on that feeble village you chose over Konoha. Danzo sneered. He charged towards the clone, certain he has a trump card against the former Hokage. Charging towards the clone, Danzo brought out a long blade kunai and quickly added his wind affinity to it. Still running, he thrust the wind-enhanced kunai down onto Minato's shoulder, slashing him in half vertically. It's over, nothing can stop me now. Danzo thought with triumph, only to see Minato poof into smoke, making the old Warhawk grit his teeth. Come on Danzo, you didn't think I would be that easy to defeat, did you? The real Minato chuckled. Appearing on the ground, Minato quickly delivered a punch to Danzo. Danzo quickly turned and twisted his body, dodging the blow. Minato, the faster of the two, was able to react properly and quickly attacked him from the side with a kick to the midsection. Got you. The kick sent the cripple off his feet, skidding across the ground. I guess I drew first blood. Minato chuckled, watching Danzo wipe the blood from his face. Obviously that arm of his isn't just dead weight. The way he moves himself shows it still helps balance him, but he keeps it away from his opponent when attacking or defending. Like he's protecting it. I think it's time to show you the true might I possess. Unshackling the wooden straps on his arm, dropping them on the ground, he soon unrolled the bandage around his entire arm. Minato watched curiously, wondering what he did but also has. If one person controlled the Kyuubi once before, another can again, and that will be me. With this power I will control Konoha and Kyuubi. Minato stood there shocked to see multiple Sharingans implanted on his arm. An arm that was obviously surgically grafted onto him and was strongly discolored, as if it were unhealthy in some way. The Sharingan in his head won't have given Minato much trouble, but seeing multiple Sharingans on his pale arm and a strange face-like growth on his shoulder made the former Hokage wonder what the limits of this elder truly were. He didn't even want to know how the biology worked here. Wait a minute. He took a step back, eyes narrowing. Such an arm would have taken a lot of work to create and probably some prototypes first to even ensure it could actually function. There's no way you could have done this on your own, even with your secret soldiers. I was told you stole all of Orochimaru's research after he was forced to leave Konoha. You just proved that claim correct, and you used it on yourself. How long has Danzo been doing this? Working behind everyone's back, using someone else's hard work for his own gain. Does anyone have any idea? Did Sarutobi help him keep this under wraps? I'm not even going to mention how ironic the fact that he stole Sharingans for this is. Minato thought to himself. If you're expecting remorse, you'll find none here. Danzo claimed before pulling out a Nodashi and charging at Minato. This tactic greatly confused Minato, so he resorted to blocking it with one of his Tri-Kunai. Up close some tree limbs sprouted out of Danzo's body and began to engulf Minato. So he stole the Mokuton as well as the Sharingan. It's like he tried to give himself the powers of both Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, clearly from a desire to take Kyuubi for himself once he could find the fox. Minato thought before using the Hiraishin to get out of the tree cage. The wooden snares separated from Danzo's body and created a new tree in the ground. Danzo looked around and checked his arm. You can't escape me forever, Yondaime, especially since for now I'm unstoppable. In her hiding place, Subsonic was fuming. That lousy son of a bitch. So this is why he had the Uchiha clan killed. So he could steal our eyes and use them to become something too gross for a freak show. How can he even use them? I mean, does he really need that many to copy jutsu with? Yakumo asked, also appalled by the sight of the eyed arm. Subsonic narrowed her eyes behind her mask. No, that can't be it. The one in his eye socket would suffice for that. An abundance of eyes means he has something else planned for them. But for what reason would someone need so many? She stopped herself when it hit her. Oh crap. You know something? Yakumo asked. There's only one reason someone would require multiple Sharingans in their body. And that's so they can use a technique that ends up costing the use of a single Sharingan multiple times. He's using the forbidden technique Izanagi. Subsonic looked right in Yakumo's eyes. Yondaime-sama is in trouble. Nothing he does now can hurt that man. But maybe you can. Me. How? He's using a very powerful genjutsu. One that allows him to temporarily alter the reality of himself and his jutsu. He can make reality fake an illusion real for a short time, but with those eyes he can do it more than once. The only way to beat him that I can think of is to hit him with an even stronger reality-altering genjutsu. Subsonic explained. Yakumo gasped, getting the message. But, I don't know if I can. If you don't try, he's going to win and turn you into his slave. He's going to be a demon that you can't get out your head. Did you trade one monster for another? Subsonic pressed. Yakumo frowned and shook her head, remembering the fight Naruto had with the ID demon. No, I'm finally free of something else controlling me and I'm not going back to that. She looked at Danzo, still fighting Minato. I've got an idea, if Yondaime-sama can hold him for just a bit longer. She began to draw. Damn, if only I was faster, I wouldn't have to settle for fighting just here. Danzo rued, wishing he had the mobility of his youth and could take the battle to a more preferable environment. A large toad ambushed him and spat out a great deal of oil. Danzo slashed it with his sword, cutting open the belly and making it bleed before it dispelled. Minato made a brief appearance behind the Warhawk while he was occupied and hit him with a fire ignition seal. The crippled elder went up in flames, only to reappear unharmed in a different spot. It's futile, Yondaime, you cannot win. He proclaimed, holding up his right arm grasping his sword as if to fend off any additional attack. Even if you defeat me here, Danzo, you'll never get what you want. The yellow flash countered. What makes you so sure? Danzo asked. Because Danzo, in your effort to ensure you will become Hokage, you've guaranteed you never can be. Minato claimed with a smile. Danzo frowned and arched an eyebrow at the same time. And how do you figure that? Well, speaking as someone who has held the title, the Hokage has to be many things. A powerful ninja who can stand up to any enemy is obvious, but that's not the dominating factor. The Hokage must be someone the village can trust their safety to, someone they can trust to be rational and not tyrannical. I'm not a tyrant. All I want is what's best for Konoha. Danzo insisted. Go ahead and tell yourself that, Danzo, the evidence says otherwise. The evidence shows you're willing to enslave children to ensure they can only use their talents in ways you permit. It shows that when the village is in trouble you save yourself and leave the village to fight for itself. It shows you're willing to steal clan property for yourself, and if you can do this kind of thing to your own body you'll have no problem doing this or worse to others. All for the greater good. Danzo claimed. Everything for Konoha is and will always be the greater good. That's why the younger shinobi look to the older shinobi for a future. To show them how great they are. To show them the future and what to fight for. That's what I've been doing for all these years, trying to show them what it takes to be exceptional. Danzo, look at yourself. You call this exceptional. I call you an old man who forced others to be what I'm assuming were involuntary donors for yourself and made yourself look like a monster. You tried to enslave a girl, and who knows how many other children you've done this to. You hid yourself when Konoha was in trouble instead of defend the village you love. What about the next time it happens? You gonna go scurry away like a rat again and leave your soldiers to die protecting the village that you claim is your responsibility? No one in their right mind would support such a person as a Hokage. I won't give them a choice. Danzo declared. Minato shook his head. And you say you're not a tyrant. In your mad quest to ensure your rise to power, you've alienated yourself from the very people you would have had power over. Something that the Uchiha clan knew all too well, but you obviously knew that seeing you stole from them. So tell me, Danzo, what's the point of being Hokage if no one likes you? Danzo scoffed. You think I care if I'm liked? I never once said I wanted to be Hokage to be liked. I want it because I want power. I want authority. I want everyone to do what I say, to prove my way of doing things is the right way. I want to prove the Nadaime was wrong for not picking me. I want. Before he could rant more, the old warhawk felt a barrage of Senbon come at him from every direction all at once, with the exceptions of underneath himself and from Minato's direction. The Senbon came quickly and before he could dodge they turned him into a human pincushion, hitting everywhere including his many Sharingans. But then Danzo faded out of existence for a moment, and the Senbon poofed into non-existence themselves. Minato had placed several shadow clones secretly all around, and they all used the shadow Senbon jutsu to strike in a way that was too much for an old man to do anything about even with 12 eyes. Danzo then faded back into existence. Nice try, Yondaime, but not nice enough. You have to kill me many times before I stay dead. I only have to kill you once, and once that is done not even Orochimaru will bring you back. True, but you have to hit me first, and you still haven't realized yet what my real plan is. Minato activated the Hiraishin and left. What does he mean by? Danzo asked himself, only to be hit by a quick attack from behind with a kunai cutting him on the left upper arm, just below the shoulder. He turned to look but he saw nothing but the wound, no attacker or weapon. Worst part was the wound hurt but wasn't significant enough to warrant using Izanagi to remove. Then he felt another attack, this one being a clean cut to his right Achilles tendon, making him unable to stand anymore. That one did require Izanagi, which he used to undo the damage and become intact again. Damn, this is how he beat his enemies, by moving so fast they didn't know he was there until it was too late to stop him. And here I thought it only worked on large groups, not individuals. Danzo rude. Wait, if he can get this close to me this quickly, then he must have a marker by me to anchor his jutsu. With that, Danzo began to head off into the forest, wanting to get out of range of the Hiraishin markers. But before he could, Yakumo appeared from her hiding spot, frowning firmly at the warhawk and holding her sketchpad to her chest. Danzo grinned. So you've come to your senses, Rather than respond, Yakumo opened up her sketchpad and showed him her latest drawing. Ha! Your trick isn't Danzo was interrupted when he felt the drawing the young brunette made become real for it. On the paper was a picture of his arm and face, drawn with kunais piercing each Sharingan. It was drawn well but rather simply, detailed enough to get the genjutsu across. The old warhawk felt it in each and every eye on his body, including his one original eye left. He felt them rip open as if cut by a blade and bleed profusely. The pain was excruciating, and despite it he tried to invoke Izanagi, but the pain only continued. What's going on? Why can't I rid myself of this devastation? He asked himself, forcing himself to open his one normal and undamaged eye to look at the damage. Each Sharingan on his person was bleeding profusely and forced close by the body's natural instinct to cover a bothered eye. She destroyed my Sharingans and with them any jutsu they provide me. She actually beat the supreme genjutsu. With a genjutsu no less. If Danzo found irony humorous, this would have been a riot to him. Excellent work, Yakumo-chan. Subsonic praised while reappearing next to the girl, then turned to the wounded elder. Now Danzo, do you give up, or do we have to make you give up? Danzo lightly laughed. Make me give up. How do you plan to do that? If you plan on using that girl as leverage against me, it won't work. I may want her alive, but I won't lose any sleep if she dies. No one in this village will. They fear her power almost as much as they fear the Biju. Who said we were using her? Subsonic asked, then patted Yakumo's shoulder. Should you kill him? Yakumo asked. He's harmless, can't really do anything now other than kill himself. Subsonic replied. But he is dangerous, and possibly has extra Sharingan in storage somewhere to replace any he loses, so we're not going to let him live. Allow me. Minato said, appearing from above Danzo, two Rasengans ready in his hands. He rammed them right into Danzo's shoulders, shredding the flesh then bone, cleaving the arms from his body. Both arms. The old man yelled obscenities while yelling in pain, and called out for his root agents. Unfortunately for him they had already been taken down by Subsonic and her assistants while Minato had been keeping Danzo busy. After a bit the pain decreased just enough that Danzo could ask something. Why haven't you killed me yet and gotten it over with? Strategy mostly. Minato answered cryptically. Danzo fumed despite the agony he was still in. But without his arms or Sharingans he couldn't do anything. He couldn't even use his suicide Mokuden technique anymore in a last-ditch effort to kill them with him. Damn you Namikaze. Damn you to hell. Your new village will be destroyed by Konoha even if I'm not the one leading the war. A kick to his head shut him up, but didn't kill him. You talk too much, old man. Subsonic stated, then looked to Yakumo. Do you want to go? We're not forcing you. But keep in mind we can't remove this unless we go to Oto. And if the seal stays on, who knows what else it can do to you? Minato asked, then glanced at her sketchpad. Looks like your uncle thinks it's a good idea. What do you mean? She asked, looking at the message written in blood. What does safe and sound mean to you? It doesn't say safe and sound, dear, it says safe and sound. Subsonic corrected. Your uncle was telling you to come with us. But why would he say that? Yakumo asked, not seeing why he'd make such a suggestion. At the same time Minato created another Rasengan and used it to decapitate Danzo, finally killing him. Some ready-to-make fire seals were used to destroy his body before any hidden deadman switch seals could activate on him, which was the real reason they hadn't been in such a hurry to kill Danzo. Subsonic smiled under her mask. Let's just say someone in Oto wants to see you, and you want to see them. Plus it's the only place where we can ensure you're safe from anyone else in Konoha that knows to use the seal on you. What are the odds that this man is the only one who knew about it? Who wants to see me? Yakumo asked. You'll see when you get there. By the way Subsonic, don't you want to see your son while you're here? Minato asked. The disguised Uchiha matriarch shook her head. No, it's too soon for that. He needs more time to work things out. But soon, I will come back for him. She looked to Yakumo. You coming? Yakumo looked at her sketchpad, and cried for her uncle. I suppose I will. But can you help my uncle? We already have, and he understands everything. Subsonic told the girl. Alright, let's go. With that, the two visitors from Oto left, taking with them another of Konoha's members. And the village was unaware it had even happened. But one person knew what happened. Sai quickly wrote down, Danzo-sama has been killed. The Incused morphed into a mouse and ran off to Root headquarters to let all who supported the Warhawk of his demise. Danzo-sama will be avenged. The pale boy vowed. When Naruto came back to Oto, he chose to enter through the gate to Yuya guarded. Part of it was to say hi to her in the process, and part of it was because he trusted her to know the difference between him and a disguise better. Hi Naruto, welcome home. To Yuya greeted kindly, then looked at Hinata. So tell me girl, how good is he in the sack? Both teens' faces turned red. I'm not discussing that here, Hinata claimed. Come on, give me something. I've got nothing else to think about sitting here all damn day long. To Yuya-chan, Naruto warned. Alright, keep her panties on Naruto-kun. Though you can take mine off if you want. The flutist teased, enjoying his blush. On a serious note, you two need to stay here for a moment. I'm required to call someone to escort you. Tayuya stated before tapping her radio headset. Escort? Why? Naruto asked. The redhead ignored them. North Gate to Central, I've got you know who here. Request escort to Otokage Tower. Affirmative, Alto will be sent there shortly. Kimimaro said on the other end. Tayuya ended the transmission. Sorry about this, but security is going to be a bit tight in the village for a while. Why? What happened? Hinata asked. I think Otokage-sama can explain it better than me. All I can say is some strange shit is going on here, and if we're not careful we could all be royally fucked sideways soon. And not in the way you and I want it, girl. She said, specifically speaking to Hinata at that last part. Is anyone in danger? Naruto asked. Again, Otokage-sama can tell it better. She replied, then saw a masked Alto arrive. Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Uzumaki. The Alto greeted. We know it's you, Gurren. Naruto said. The Alto moved her mask, showing it was indeed the crystal wielder, before putting it back in place. Just doing my job, kids. Come with me. You two enjoy yourselves. Tayuya calmly added before allowing them to enter the village. As they walked with Gurren covering for them, Naruto and Hinata looked quite surprised. Something's up. Tayuya-chan always has something to say, even if she doesn't always censor how she says it. Naruto thought out loud. I'm also concerned about Fu. Hinata commented. What do you think she's going to do once she sees you? Nothing that will hurt me. Oh, I'm not worried about her hurting you. I'm more concerned about her wanting to skip ahead to the honeymoon. It's not like I can't tell her no if she tried. Naruto replied. Hinata nodded. Oh, I know, but I'm not sure how to say this, but let's just say when we girls were talking about being with you in bed, she got so descriptive in her plans I think Hanabi lost her ear virginity to it. Well, that's a bad mental image. Naruto joked, making Hinata and Gurren chuckle. What exactly did she say? I can't remember anything specific, but it might have been why I was so frisky when you were with me. I just know that she might not want to wait until you're officially married. And if she does even half the stuff she mentioned, I think it will you who's too sore to walk straight the next day. You're exaggerating. Hinata gave him a teasing smirk. Oh, am I? See for yourself. Don't encourage the boy. Gurren warned. The two continued their walk to the Otokage Tower, undisturbed by others. Gurren took them right to the main office. Luckily Orochimaru wasn't busy so he could see them right away. Hello Otokage-sama, the ones you wanted are here as requested. Thank you Gurren. You may return to your normal duty. Orochimaru said. Gurren bowed and left. Welcome back kids. Did you have fun? The snake Sanin asked. That's private. Naruto stated. I'll take that as a yes. Orochimaru said with a chuckle. And here I thought your teammate was the pervert of you three. Naruto commented. Hey, I may not be as open about it but I'm not a virgin either Naruto. I've had my share of ladies in the past. We don't need to hear about your sex life. Hinata told him. Not even a little. It might benefit Naruto to know a few things that even Jiraiya might not know. Orochimaru offered. No thanks, I'm with one of my girls, I don't want them wondering which old man gave me advice for what I'm doing to them. Naruto claimed. Hinata withheld a sigh of relief. Thank you Naru-kun. Orochimaru shrugged. Alright then. I didn't call you here because of that topic. That was just to break the ice. I need to tell you several things that came up while you were gone. We were only gone 2 nights. Naruto stated. A lot can happen in 2 nights. Just like I'm sure you did a lot in those 2 nights. Anyway, first thing I should tell you is promotions will be announced this weekend once a few more decisions are made, and while I can't confirm or deny who gets promoted, it would be, to your advantage, to wed Fu tonight. Tomorrow at the latest. Naruto nodded. I understand. Second thing I should tell you is Tsunade requested to see your wife today when you got back. I think she wants to know how likely it is you two will have children this soon. Orochimaru added. Do you know if her curiosity is valid? Hinata stepped forward. I'm not sure. I have no problem with the exam you're saying she has in mind, but I'm not sure myself what to expect. In the heat of the moment, Orochimaru held up a hand. You kids don't want to hear about my sex life any more than I want to hear about yours. Thanks Jisen. Naruto said gratefully. And the last thing I want to mention is good job handling those guys who ambushed you on your day away. Orochimaru added. When a toad showed up with two babies saying it was from you, you can probably imagine what our initial reactions were. The two teens nodded. Once we got over that, we saw your note and the robes you sent along. Jiraiya got bothered, but for a professional reason this time. He knows who these guys work for. Really? Naruto and Hinata asked. Orochimaru nodded. He called them Akatsuki. They're a group of missing nin, all supposedly S-ranked, with roughly 9 official members and their own spy network of unofficial members, if you will. He's not sure what their exact goal is, but he can say with certainty that they want to obtain all the Biju. Naruto and Hinata were wide-eyed, and Hinata grabbed his hand as if to keep him from leaving. Naruto slowly shook his head. Then that explains the need for an escort. Though how could they have found me? How could they know I was a Jinchuriki and where I was on that day? Orochimaru closed. It's apparent that there is a spy in our village, letting the outside world know about Oto. The fact that you were located is not proof enough. What is proof enough is that while you were gone, an attempt was made on Fu's life by presumably the same organization. What? Naruto asked in disbelief. Is she alright? Orochimaru nodded. She is fine. They underestimated her and were unable to capture her. But they were able to get inside the village, which means they were informed on where Oto is and knew how to get past our defenses. Do you have any suspects? Hinata asked. Our first line of suspects is our gate guards. The snake Sanin admitted. Naruto tensed. Wait, you can't mean. Naruto, think about it. Orochimaru interrupted. Someone had to tell these guys how to get in the village. It would be unprofessional to not even consider the possibility that one of the guards allowed them to enter, rather missed them. We had to interrogate them all, even to Yuya. Though personally, I doubt she was the one. Why would she help someone who threatens you? What did you find? Naruto asked, almost afraid of the answer. I'm not sure, the T&I department is still going over data. But for now it's safe to say that she and the others weren't in on it. Which means we'll have to question all Altos stationed that night. And the T&I department too, since we took 2 hostages and they managed to escape from a secure room. Wow, who interrogates the interrogators? Naruto asked. Leave that to us. Now, I suggest you two go enjoy being home. Hinata, go see Tsunade before it gets too late, and while she's doing that Naruto should go see Fu. I think she could use your company more than anyone else's right now. Orochimaru suggested. The two teens nodded. Thank you, Otokage-sama. Fu is in her home, unable to relax or feel safe despite the reset traps. She sat on her couch, disconnected from the world. Her only company at the moment was her sensei Kurenai. I wish I could say this was the only time something like this will happen, Fu-chan, but sadly a reality of kunoichi work is attempted kidnapping. The red-eyed woman said, seated across from her student. Wow, that makes me feel so much better. Fu said sarcastically. I'll have you know someone once tried kidnapping me when I was younger. Kurenai proclaimed. Fu arched an eyebrow. You never said that before. I'm sure you can easily understand why. Fu slowly nodded. Yeah, you're right. What happened, since you're still here? Kurenai relaxed a bit. It was back when I was a genin, and we didn't let others know we were of Oto just yet. My team and I were posing as Sunanin to check out some potentially new lethal weapons made by the famous artisan village. But isn't that exactly what they're supposed to make? Fu asked, not seeing the need for a mission. Yes, but the artisan village is always a touchy subject in the ninja world. They have no allegiance to any of the hidden villages, claiming neutrality much like the Land of Iron does. But that's really just a mask for them. You see, the village sells its weapons to the other villages, with their neutrality being a means to have multiple clients. So basically they're neutral for economic reasons rather than pacifist reasons. Wait, does that mean they do what we call selling to both sides? Fu asked. Kurenai nodded. Yes, they do. They've made a lot of money over the years by selling one set of weapons to one village than another set to another village, especially during a war. Sometimes they even charge more to give weapons that are supposed to destroy the weapons of the other village. This of course makes them a lot of enemies. Then why haven't they been attacked yet? Fu asked. The main idea is that even though we all know what they do, Attacking the artisans will risk upsetting other villages who still want their weapons, as well as make the attacking village look suspicious to the others. Say for example we invaded and destroyed the artisan village. What would others think about Oto? Fu shrugged. First Konoha and now them, boy Oto loves invading. Kurenai shook her head. No. Well, actually you might be right, but the point I was trying to make was anyone who tried to destroy that village would likely take something back with them. Fu silently, ahhed, in understanding. I see. To others, it would look like we stole the best weapons for ourselves and maybe stole their secrets to making more weapons as well. Making us the new targets and potential, both side sellers in the process. Yes, so none of us can really attack the village without it potentially starting another war. For the most part, the best stance we can take regarding the artisans is, buyer beware. Anyway, Matim and I were checking out reports of Konoha buying weapons from them, and we learned they were hoping to stockpile since they were without a Jinchuriki. Fu nodded. A major village without a Jinchuriki is bound to seek alternatives. We got there and sure enough some Konoha nin were there to try and pick up their order. The situation kind of forced us into a fight. My genjutsu wasn't as strong as it is now, so I ended up getting captured by one of them. Did you kill him? Fu asked. He wasn't killed, at least not when I was around. He was interested in taking me back to Konoha to learn more about Suna, since he thought I was from there. Probably wanted to learn some secrets to crossing their desert, or about their own Jinchuriki. I couldn't blow my cover, so I fought him with everything I had. He was tough, but I managed to escape. I didn't see him again. What if he was there in Konoha when we invaded? Fu asked. Kurenai shrugged. He might have been, I wouldn't have recognized him. Only thing I can remember about him was his hair was sort of like a black version of Naruto's own. And he had these strange knives with him. He was powerful, I'll give him that, but he was easy to distract so I just had to time a genjutsu right to get away. Though I couldn't resist leaving a nice little scar on his jaw. If I saw him in Konoha, I would have recognized that scar immediately. Unless he got it healed or covered it with something like a mask or beard. Fu pointed out. Good point, but it's enough that he didn't recognize me if he was there. Anyway, my point is there's always going to be someone wanting to take you as a prize. As a kunoichi that's kind of our biggest drawback, but it's also an advantage because it means the enemy prefers us alive. Leaving someone alive always gives them an opportunity to retaliate. Hence why one of the kunoichi only classes is resistance and escape. Fu nodded. Definitely useful. So much more important than something like flower arranging. Anyway, taking classes for the inevitable never really makes handling the situation easier to handle. Same with killing people. You got lucky that people could respond quickly and, Kurenai started, but stopped when Fu held up a hand to silence her. Something wrong. Not really Kurenai-sensei, but I think you misread me. The green-haired girl told her. I never said I was worried about me. Kurenai was confused, then realized what her student meant. Fu looked distressed, and Kurenai had assumed she was coping with the realization that Oto's security system wasn't as good as everyone thought it was. And a person who can't feel safe at home can't feel safe anywhere. Not to mention some of the people involved hoped to take her back to Taki against her will. It was only natural to assume she was in need of reassurance, which Kurenai tried to provide. Then what's got you so melancholy? Kurenai asked. I worry that someone like them tried to get Naruto-kun and he might not be coming home. Fu admitted. I should have known. Kurenai thought yet smiled. Oh, you know that boy. You think that he's easier to catch than you. Haven't you ever worried for someone's safety even if you knew they were safe? Fu rhetorically asked. Good point. The red-eyed woman admitted. So you just want him to show up. That will make you feel better. Fu nodded. But not just for his safety, right? You want him here for a more personal reason, don't you? Can you blame me? Nope. Though I wonder if you leaving the village so soon is the wisest thing. Those guys might try a second attempt. Kurenai pointed out. Yeah, but right away should be too risky for any attempt to be worth it. Plus who said I had to go out of town for my honeymoon? I'm good with it being here in my apartment. Fu claimed. There was a knock at the door, a rhythm of exactly 7 knocks telling her whoever showed up was familiar with Fu's defenses. Both women looked at it then each other. Go ahead. Kurenai said, prompting Fu to answer the door. Yes. She asked when she opened it, then gasped when she saw who was there. Naruto-kun. You were expecting someone else. He teased. He was cut off by her suddenly hugging him tightly. You okay? I am now that you're here. Kurenai got up. Well, I guess my work is done here. She had to move carefully around the two, looking at Naruto in the process. Be good to her. She silently mouthed the whiskered blonde before leaving them alone. Let's go inside, Naruto suggested, and Fu nodded. What happened last night? He asked when the door was closed. What makes you think anything happened? Fu asked back, trying to put on a tough front, but the fact that she hadn't yet released him kind of countered that. Otokage-sama said some men tried to break into your home. Fu sighed and let go of Naruto to sit down. Yeah, in fact two did. It was pretty hilarious watching them fall victim to my traps. She said with a smile. When I went outside there were more out there waiting for me, aware of what I am. They intended to take me back to Taki as a bargaining chip. Bet that struck a nerve with you. Naruto mentioned, sitting down next to her on the couch. It did, but what really worried me was the thought that someone was after you at the same time. If they could find me, what guarantee was there that they couldn't find you too? Fu replied. Naruto paused for a moment. Actually, someone did. Fu paled. What? He nodded. Yeah, I woke up and these two guys in black cloaks were asking me to come with them. Long story short, I turned them into babies and had a toad bring them here. I figured the people in charge would want to see for themselves. Also, one of them is Subsonic's other son. Fu arched an eyebrow. The one that killed the entire clan. If I were her I'd leave him a baby and raise him right this time. Naruto shrugged. I thought the same, but it's ultimately her call. Fu leaned against Naruto. Naruto-kun, will you stay with me tonight? I really would feel better sleeping tonight knowing you're right there next to me. I think so, I'm sure Hina-chan will understand. After all, if we get married tomorrow then being together tonight. Actually Naruto-kun, I don't want to wait for tomorrow. I want to marry you today. Fu requested. Really? But there's no way to set up a ceremony in time. Then we'll skip it, save it for later. We can make the actual marriage legal today and save the big fancy stuff for later. Right now, I just want to know that nothing will ever be able to come between us again. Naruto didn't know what to say. You sure about this? Very sure Naruto-kun. I can't help but feel Taki is going to make a move soon. Please do this for me. Naruto hugged her. Anything for you Fu-chan. That night, Naruto and Fu were back in her apartment, but this time it was as husband and wife. Orochimaru had no problem with granting their request, and Naruto had a clone go keep Hinata company so she wouldn't be ignored. He felt a bit guilty about having Hinata be with a clone, but the thing about a harem was sometimes one of the girls would get all his attention and they all had to learn to handle that. Tonight was Fu's turn. Fu was smiling brightly, as if now nothing could sour her mood. Finally, I'm no longer a Takino. I always hated that name, had to use it at Taki's request like it was some reminder of their claim to me. Good riddance, Fu Uzumaki sounds so much better. I wonder what my parents will think once they find out. Naruto thought out loud. Both Kushina and Minato were busy that afternoon, making him wonder why, but he didn't dwell on it. Fu deserved his attention more today. I'm sure they'll be fine. They didn't object when you introduced me to them. Now Naruto-kun, wait here a bit. I want to surprise you with something. Oh, like what? It wouldn't be much of a surprise if I told you now, would it? Fu teased before disappearing into her room. I wonder if she's got some kind of sexy nightwear like Hina-chan did. The blonde boy wondered. Moments later the door opened and Fu came out dressed in something different than her normal all-white ensemble, but it wasn't lingerie. Rather she wore a loose soft mint blouse with her shoulders exposed and blue shorts on, the overall effect being clothes for someone comfortable and without any intention of going outside anytime soon. Looks nice. Naruto said, a bit disappointed that Fu didn't dress more sexily. Thanks, but I just needed something simple so I don't mess up my work clothes. Fu said before going into the kitchen and donning an apron. She must want to cook something for me instead of going right for sex. Naruto realized. You want me to help? Fu shook her head but smiled. Thanks for offer, but no. I want the first thing I do for you as your wife to be make one of the best meals you've ever eaten. Her eyes then got a sultry look to them. Then, you can eat me. Wow, thanks Fu-chan. Though I'm sure I'll like anything you make. Ah, and I went to all that trouble to get the best ingredients I could. The green-haired girl mock whined then went for a storage scroll. It wasn't easy getting this you know. She unsealed a wrapped-up piece of pink meat the size of most prime ribs. What is it? Naruto asked. Something I spotted on a mission before the exams and kept carefully preserved. My team wanted us all to eat it that night, and I was tempted to do that, but I made the kill and I said I wanted to share this with you on our wedding night. My team accepted, but boy were they upset they couldn't have any. I might have to save them some leftovers just to make it up to them. That still doesn't tell me what this is. Naruto reminded her. In short, this is a striped moon rabbit. Fu admitted. Naruto gasped and looked like someone was just offering him free ramen for life. You actually got one. For real. Fu nodded. Thank you so much for saving me some. The striped moon rabbit was a rare animal in the elemental nations, rare enough that some places considered it an endangered species are non-existent. Sadly it wasn't protected by endangered species laws because rabbits were a staple of traveling ninja diets and a hungry ninja needed to take what they could hunt rather than look for something else. The rabbit itself was white with black-brown stripes going horizontally over it, and considered in the ninja world to have the most delicious meat of all animals. Sadly because of its rarity most ninja went their entire lives without ever tasting it themselves. No problem. Now, how do you want this prepared? I can't believe I'm saying this, but something like this is too special to waste on ramen. Naruto said. I agree. How about a stew? Fu suggested. Naruto nodded. Sounds good to me. Satisfied, Fu took out a knife and started chopping up the meat. Glad I already took the bones out. Can you pull out some carrots and oil? I'll get the other ingredients. No problem. Naruto said, looking in her fridge for the requested items. Hey, carrots in a rabbit stew. Sounds like a joke waiting to be made. If you got one go ahead and make it. Fu said, pulling some seasoning out of her pantry. Not yet, but it will come to me later. For most of the preparation Fu worked on her own, never once referencing a cookbook as if she had memorized the entire recipe. And when it was simmering on her stove she worked on some side dishes, looking like she was completely in her element. This was a side of Fu Naruto was unfamiliar with. I knew she could cook, but I never really saw how much she enjoyed it. Or is it because she's doing it for me that makes her enjoy it this much? I gotta say, I'm really flattered. Fu said nothing as she worked, in her own little world until the meal was finished and she put it on her table. Ready. To her surprise Naruto had grabbed the plates and chopsticks. You don't have to do all the work you know. I don't need 9 or 10 women to take care of me like some kid. I know, but that doesn't mean we can't do anything for you. She told him then went up and kissed him, extending it a bit longer than she had to. Come on, let's eat. Fu decided the sizes of both portions and as a sign of consideration to her team put some aside in containers. The side dishes were rice and biscuits which both got to pick for themselves. Naruto was the first one to taste the stew, and once he did he paused. How is it? Fu asked, hoping he liked it. She tasted the broth while cooking it to make sure it was cooking properly, but not the meat itself. It is the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. Naruto admitted. If it wasn't rude, I'd be scarfing this down like ramen. Wow, you love it and will eat it at a slow pace. I suppose for you that's the greatest stamp of approval you can give. Fu teased, making Naruto chuckle. She ate a piece of meat too and hummed in pleasure as the flavor danced on her tongue. Oh, you were not exaggerating. This is incredible. It's such a shame I'll probably never get my hands on this meat again in my life. Conversation was hearty and cheery for them both, reminiscing old times and places they wanted to see. When they were done eating, both leaned back and relaxed. Man, you sure did a good job with that Fu-chan. Naruto complimented. Thanks. I hope you saved room for dessert. She said. I don't know, that depends on what you have. He replied. Close your eyes and wait there. Let me get it for you. He obeyed and heard her move around. Wait, I didn't see her make any dessert. Did she buy something when I wasn't around? Open your eyes. He did, but he couldn't see Fu. Since the voice came from behind him, he turned that way and his eyes widened. Fu was standing in her doorway completely naked, hiding nothing and twirling a pair of panties on her index finger before letting it fly to him, hitting him in the face. Come and get it, she said seductively before disappearing into her room. I hope at least one of my wives will let me make the first move for our first time. Naruto thought as he stood up. I should try that next time. He went into her room, and saw her seated on her futon with her legs wide open, leaning back on her arms. Her breasts weren't the highlight of her figure, but her hips and pussy definitely drew enough attention to make up for it. And like Naruto already knew, she was a natural green. I know I'm no Hinata, but I hope my body pleases you. Fu said, sounding a bit uncertain. Naruto knelt down in front of her. I don't want all of you to look alike or act alike. I have enough clones in my life, I don't need to be married to one. Fu smiled. Thanks, now put your mouth to a better use. And I'll do the same. Smirking, Naruto dove down and began licking the green-haired girl. She moaned as she went slow on her slit, prompting her to push his head into her more. Like she wanted him to wear her like a mask. More. Faster. Naruto pulled away. Is that how you intend to put your mouth to a better use? Taking the challenge, Fu lay down and used her legs to encourage the whiskered blonde to move himself atop her. Unlike her, he was still dressed, so she pulled down his pants, bucking her own hips while he worked her nethers. His boxers didn't go as easily, but she got them down, and paused to enjoy the sight presented to her. Yep, can't find something this good in Taki. She joked, giving Naruto a brief chance to work on taking his own pants off too, which she helped him do. After that he went back to work on her, and she went to work on him. I'm not sure how to describe the taste, but it's a little muskier than kissing him. Fu sucked on Naruto with a slow patient pace, letting him enjoy the act and come to his own release, also mimicking the pace he was setting on her. Once he picked up his pace, she did the same, and she could tell he was getting the message. Naruto licked and fingered her, and Fu played with his testicles in a harmless way too. After a bit Naruto used his fingers to pull Fu's lips apart and inserted his tongue, wiggling it around inside her. The girl lost it, feeling as if all her sensitive spots were being tickled, and had to release Naruto before she possibly bit him by mistake. Ah! More! Don't stop! She yelled, her thighs holding his head in a vice grip. Her orgasm came like a waterfall. Naruto looked up to see her on her back looking up at the ceiling panting, not even reacting to him moving off of her. He removed his shirt, leaving him as nude as she was, and she still was unresponsive. Wondering how far he could go, he crawled up to her and grabbed her hips, aligning himself to her opening. I wonder if this counts as rape. He briefly thought, then shook it off. Yeah right, like she'd ever think that. Being cautious but playful he began to push inside her. The feeling of her walls being spread apart by an intruder was what made Fu return to Earth right then. Naruto-kun? She asked, looking at him as she felt her hymen rip and his hips press up against her own. Good, you're back, he said, holding himself in place for her, then pulled back and thrust back into her, making her gasp. Tell me Fu-chan, are you using birth control or are you hoping for a child tonight? He asked while moving back and forth. Fu grabbed his shoulders and held him with her legs, loving the feeling of him dominating her. I used a special birth control jutsu. Gasp. Your mom gave me 4 female Jinchuriki. I do want your child, but oh yeah, harder. I mean, I want Taki off my back first. Naruto kept thrusting more per her request. I understand. And you want it to have your bloodline. Fu nodded, but it just looked like she was being pounded more. Yes, if you don't mind. Not at all, he said. I'm gonna come. Do it. I want it inside, child or not. Fu requested. Naruto sped up, going at her like a hammer, then climaxed like an explosion. Feeling his cum flow into her gave her a shuddering orgasm of her own. Panting heavily, Naruto withdrew and laid down on top of her, and she held him like a teddy bear. Both felt like they could go again, maybe even more, yet another benefit to being a Jinchuriki, but they had to pause a bit to let themselves really enjoy it. This time I'll be the forceful one. Fu thought before gently pushing Naruto off her and on his back. Before he could protest, she crawled atop him and grabbed his dick, inserting it into herself again, taking him all the way to the hilt in one motion. With the pain gone, she smirked. Here's something I wanted to try with you. Let me know if it starts to hurt. Naruto was tempted to ask, but tonight Fu had clearly favored showing her answer rather than telling them, so he nodded and let her proceed. Fu enacted her bloodline and slowly began to shrink at a sedate pace, which caused her vagina to become increasingly tighter around Naruto. Naruto winced after she contracted several centimeters. Too tight. Sorry. Fu said, then got a little bigger. This better. Much. Naruto said, and Fu began going up and down on him at a slow pace. Gotta admit I never thought you could use your bloodline like this. I thought about a lot of ways to please you in bed. Fu mentioned, picking up the pace a little. Naruto started moving his hips with hers. So I heard. And I bet you don't plan on stopping until you've done each and every one of them. Well, all the ones we're currently equipped for. Some of them required accessories, and other girls. Naruto put his hands on her breasts. I'm almost afraid to ask what your kinkiest idea is. Fu was thrusting too much to bother responding at this point. All she wanted was another climax. She even tried growing and shrinking in a rhythm to encourage it to come quicker. Naruto-kun. She cried out when it came. Fu-chan. Naruto answered when he had his own. This time Fu was lying down atop Naruto. You up for more? Oh, I intend to make you be the one who asks us to stop tonight. Naruto teased. Fu grinned. Oh, you think you can outlast me? Girls always have the advantage in sexual stamina. We'll see about that. Naruto told her, making her grin more. All of the ninja who had been in the Chunin exams had gathered in the Otokage Tower, even those that didn't make it to the finals. They stood in the council meeting room, with Orochimaru, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Minato together on the other end, all four adults smiling. I'm glad you all showed up, children. Orochimaru started. We have been reviewing your performances and evaluations, not just for the exams themselves but for the assault on Konoha. Deciding who was ready for promotion was no easy feat. Not to mention there was other things going on we needed to focus on. Minato added. Anyway, let's start with the reviews, one genin at a time. Orochimaru said, taking out some paper from a portfolio in his hand. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you showed great stealth skills and smart thinking by hiding the majority of your skills within Konoha's walls. That kind of restraint is admirable and shows a level of responsibility above genin. You were able to defend your teammates without needless flair and confuse your opponents rather than simply use brute force. While you could stand to learn more, you have done well with what you have. Therefore, we hereby promote you to Chunin. Tsunade handed the blonde boy a green vest and he accepted with a bow. No one present was really surprised to see him get this. Hinata Uzumaki, you showed mastery of a fighting style still in the developing stages, and we believe you will make it greater. You stood up to those that were deadlier than you and came out alive, even managing to kill a few in the process. Some reports say you sort of took a few things personally, most notably your claim on your teammate, but sources say that issue is resolved. Before I make it official, we have one question for you. Orochimaru said. Are you intending to get pregnant or taking any measures to prevent it? Tsunade asked for the Otokage, feeling her asking it would be less embarrassing for the girl. Well, the white-eyed girl started, unsure how to answer. I'm not trying to prevent it. In that case, we will await final judgment until after a proper medical check to confirm or deny a possible pregnancy and establish either a birth control system or a planned pregnancy. If you are now or intend to become pregnant in due time, then it would be pointless to promote you only to take you off the active roster. Orochimaru stated. Hinata nodded, seeing the reasoning. Isaribi Maikai, you showed superb fighting skills and a good command of the battlefield. However, you currently seem to be stuck in a comfort zone, one that Konoha is now familiar with. We believe you need to diversify your skills and regain the element of surprise. So for the time being, you will remain a genin. Yes, Otokage-sama, Isaribi said. Zaku Abumi, you are brave and formidable, willing to stand down any attack you faced. However, you got carried away, almost giving the opponent the knowledge of how to defeat you. Though you were able to withstand one of Konoha's best Junins and survive the intense physical damage they gave you. We do not yet promote you, but we would like to say you are showing good progress. Zaku smiled, glad to get praise from his idol the Otokage. Dosu Kinuta, you've shown a mastery of your weapon without limiting yourself solely to it. You need some more progress on your skills, but you are good at handling yourself. It was a rather difficult choice, but we have decided you would make a good Chunin. Really? Dosu asked, not expecting this. Tsunade handed him his best but said nothing, though she did nod. Kintsuchi, you showed a great talent for applying genjutsu and attacking with weapons. And your well-timing of those skills may have kept your whole team from dying in the battle. You have the makings of a fine kunoichi who can work well alone or in teams, and we hereby promote you to Chunin. Kin beamed when Tsunade gave her a Chunin vest. Sasama Fuma, you did good in the prelims despite being outnumbered and outmatched in speed. And with your help in the invasion one of Konoha's greater threats was neutralized, for a time at least. We believe you are ready to handle being a Chunin. Tsunade gave the orange-haired girl a vest, who smiled and nodded. Haku Momochi, you showed excellent deception and countering skills. While your performance in the finals was odd to say the least, you were persistent and creative. After concluding that your little public display was not your fault but something you managed to turn to your advantage, we decided you are fit to be Chunin. Thank you Otokage-sama, Haku said while taking her green vest. Fu Uzumaki, your talents are nothing short of impressive. You've fought those who naturally outclass you in every way and surpassed them. And without even trying, you helped take down some intruders into our village. For that we have no doubt that you are fit to be Chunin. In fact, we even considered the possibility of making you a Junin. What? Fu asked, completely surprised. She wasn't the only one. Orochimaru nodded. The only thing you're lacking in is experience, but beyond that we feel you're worth consideration. For the time being we will promote you to Chunin, and if you believe you're up to it we will offer you a small test to see if you indeed can be Junin at this age. Fu thought it over. Junin at the age of 14 was not unheard of in the ninja world, but usually such promotions were made during war times. A promotion of this caliber during peace times, albeit on the verge of war but still relatively peaceful, said a lot about how highly they thought of her. But there was a nagging thought in her mind. This isn't just to keep me away from Taki, right? No, but I can see why you'd think that. Would you like the chance to see for yourself if you really deserve the rank? Orochimaru asked. Fu thought it over some more. What do I have to do? Everyone, we've got a dilemma here today we need to discuss. A council meeting had gathered together in a wooden room lit with torches, seated at a round table. This was the Council of Taki, gathering to plan and discuss the safety and maintenance of their village. The Taki Council was much smaller than that of the one in Konoha, due to the fact the village only had 3 clans and there was no civilian side to it. Taki had too small a civilian population to justify giving them a council. Therefore the council consisted of 3 clan heads, the leader of village security, village treasurer, and finally the village leader Shibuki. I will put it simply, our ally Oto is angry at us. Shibuki claimed. Why would they be angry? The leader of village security, a man named Shisen Wakora, asked. I received a message from them stating that some criminals with connections to Taki have succeeded in sneaking into their village. So naturally they want answers from us. What? They're accusing us. On what grounds? One of the clan heads, a man named Kohei Horitama, asked. On the grounds that 4 of the interlopers are confirmed missing nin originating from Taki and the entire group's primary target is Futakino, the Jinchuriki of the Shichibi. Shibuki explained. So naturally they would consider the possibility we are to blame. Speaking of which, aren't they supposed to give us the girl back? Shisen asked. Actually they're coming here today to discuss that issue. Shibuki answered. What's there to discuss? We said they could train the Jinchuriki then give her back when she's of actual use to us. One of the clan heads, a woman named Bara Gogunko and the only female member of the council, asked. Don't tell me you didn't consider the possibility they'd prefer to keep her. The last clan head, a man named Issei Kuronaga, commented. If they do that then they basically give us permission to declare war on them. Bara replied. Oto just took down Konoha with the aid of Suna. You think we stand a chance if we fight them? Shibuki asked. Maybe we can get Konoha to back us up. They can get to us before Suna can get to Oto, and I'm sure they'd love to get revenge. Bara offered. Let me remind you that Oto's whereabouts are currently unknown to us, so we can't do that. Unless one of you somehow does know where the village is. Ito Kishima, the village treasurer and the oldest member of the group, leaned back with his arms crossed. I took it upon myself to make sure the village's location was known to us. It was easy, all I had to do was pay someone when the Jinchuriki was given. Only a fool trusts someone who admits to keeping secrets. Shibuki frowned. And yet you've kept this to yourself all these years. Of course I did. What did you expect? This group has been trying to replace me with someone younger for a while. This was my insurance in case you ever found someone willing to do my job. Ito admitted. So if we tried to replace you, you'd mention this detail and pretty much use it to ensure your position is secure. Because if we wanted to get the Jinchuriki back, we had to keep you in a position of power. Bara noted. That was the plan, wasn't it? And I'm willing to bet this isn't the only secret you have. I manage the village's money. You think I don't come across secrets occasionally? Information is just as valuable as money, and with it I can ensure the village is well funded and managed. Ito claimed. You're sounding an awful lot like Kakuzu right now. Shisen said in a warning tone. Well, maybe he had the right idea before he went too far. Ito suggested, getting a lot of angry looks. Oh, don't even think about firing me. You have no one to replace me, and without a treasurer who knows what they're doing, this village will go broke in less than a month. And I have ways to give out information you don't want leaked. In short, I own this village and I will not give it up. Right now I say it's better to deal with the problems of your absence than the problems of your presence. Shibuki stated. Oh yeah. And what are you going to do about it, you weak little kid? Ito challenged. Shibuki smiled and looked up. You can come out now. Confused, everyone else looked up. They saw nothing, then suddenly they saw a green-haired girl in white appear out of thin air without any smoke or jutsu residue, then land gracefully on the floor. Once she landed, the doors to the meeting room unlocked and opened, and in walked Orochimaru, Minato, and Kurenai, none of them looking happy. What is this? Ito asked, feeling a bit unnerved since this was not part of his security net. Let's just say I strategically misdirected you all here. Shibuki confessed. Otokage-sama wanted to hear what you all would say about Fu-chan if you thought you had time to plan against her. And he wanted to see if anyone here would confess to infiltrating his village. Somehow I'm not surprised it's the old man who loves money that's responsible. Orochimaru commented. The Jinchuriki is our property. You have to give her back. Ito shouted, trying to change the subject. Fu held up her left hand, showing her wedding ring. I've got a husband in Oto who's part of an important clan. That means I'm a permanent resident of Oto now. No clan is important enough to keep us from taking you back. Ito threatened. Minato scowled. Her husband is my son. Are you saying the Namikaze are nothing to be afraid of? That certainly bothered everyone. If Minato could kill a large amount of Iwa Nin on his own, he could kill the entire village of Taki all by himself. He doesn't want to kill us, or else he already would. This group wants to bully us into submission. Ito concluded, getting a sense of bravery back now that he felt the other side wouldn't actually try to hurt him. You're not going to kill us. You still want Taki as an ally. Maybe, but we don't want people like you in charge of it. Orochimaru stated. And what gives you the right to dictate how our village is managed? Ito asked, enraged. What gives you the right instead? The snake Sanin countered. I've earned the right. I've kept this village running. I've fought in wars. I can stand up for myself, unlike this sniveling coward who never had to work for anything in his life. He gestured towards Shibuki at that. I am the true leader of Taki. Yet you never once tried to take control until today. Bara said. Until today you've been perfectly fine to stick with your job and let this sniveling coward be the official leader. So why now are you acting up? Because he's threatened by me. Fu claimed. He's used to having control without responsibility, and I'm a factor that throws everything he knows out the window. You shut your mouth, insect. Ito all but shouted. To quote you, what are you going to do about it? Fu taunted with a smile. See this. She put her fingers around her Hittite. I'm a kunoichi of Odo. I've sworn loyalty to the Hidden Sound village. You were stupid to believe you could get another village to train me for you and then just take me back. Remember, child, you agreed to the plan. Shisen pointed out. We told you your leaving was not going to be permanent, and if you wanted to be respected when you came back, you'd have to be strong. Oh, I know, and when I was a kid all I wanted was to be valued by this village. Fu agreed. But I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a married woman and I will not give up the love I have in Odo to get conditional respect in Taki. You don't have a choice. The terms were you come back once you're a Chunin. Shisen argued. The Jinchuriki was intended to be part of our village defense. We've done fine without her up until now, but we won't last long if others start realizing we're no longer the only minor village with a Biju. But she's married into an official clan of Odo, making her a binding member of the village. Orochimaru told him. Unless you're willing to challenge the Namikaze and Uzumaki on this. No one spoke against this. Taki knew the value of a reputation, that was how they had survived for so long, using their reputation to their advantage to prevent most fights before they started. This also meant they kept wise of other reputations too, and the Namikaze and Uzumaki were not lacking in that department. So what are you doing then? You just showed up to say you're keeping the Jinchuriki and there's nothing we can do about it. Ito asked, not liking this. Actually, we are here to give you an offer. Orochimaru said with a grin. Fu will fight a Junin of your selection. If she wins, she stays in Odo for good, and if your Junin wins, she goes to Taki. Do you accept? Why should we? It sounds like you have more to gain than we do. Ito asked. Because this is the only offer you're getting. Refuse, and we go home with Fu, and you all decide whether you're willing to go to war over her. Orochimaru told him firmly. Ito glared, then smirked. All right. In an hour you will have this fight. Good. Orochimaru said with a nod, then the group departed. Shisen, arrest Ito. Shinjuku ordered. Yes, sir. The head of village security said. What? Ito asked, surprised as Shisen got a paralysis jutsu ready. You can't do this to me. You have confessed to being a danger to the village. Shisen told him, touching the old man and effectively disabling his ability to move for a short while. You didn't seriously think we just forgot that, did you? You will all pay for this. Ito bitterly vowed. The setting for the battle turned out to be the spot just above Taki's namesake waterfall. Fu stood on one of the banks of the massive cascade, waiting for her opponent. All I have to do is beat the guy they select and not only am I free of Taki, I get to be a Junin. She happily told herself. In no time Shibuki appeared with the remainder of his council. Are you ready, Fu-chan? She nodded. Absolutely. All right then. Your opponent is on the other the falls, already informed of the terms. Victory is by death, surrender, or outside interference. Do you understand? Shibuki asked, and Fu nodded. All right, then best of luck to you. Don't say that. We don't want her to win. Bars complained. What was I supposed to say? Lose. Shibuki asked back, and the council walked away with him. Fu, her opponent, having a hard time seeing them due to the distance and the angle of the sun from behind them. Good. Sunlight coming towards me rather than behind me works to my advantage. Easier to reflect back at him. The opponent surprised her by stepping into the water. Not on, in. Likely using chakra to cling to the ground below rather than the surface of the water to avoid being swept away by the current. That was unexpected, but nothing Fu was concerned about. The opponent crossed his arms, and the water around him sprung to life. Tendrils like octopus limbs waved, as if flexing, then they rushed at the green-haired girl. Fu jumped into the air, growing two wings and avoiding the initial strike. But the attack didn't end, the water tendrils bent up to grab her from behind, forcing her to maneuver some more. Ninja art hidden in scale powder jutsu. She exhaled a fine powder that caught the sunlight coming towards her, rebounding back at her foe with more force than normal. Her opponent was blinded and blocked their eyes with their arms, even pulling up some water to act as another layer. This gave Fu a chance to actually see them. It was a teen boy somewhere between her and Anko's age, dressed in a blue-green tank top and dark blue pants. He had black hair with some gray behind his hair, and not a particularly muscular build, implying his taijutsu was not his strong suit. I better get him now. Fu thought. pulling out one of her kunai equipped with an explosive tag. She threw it and it hit the water barrier, but luckily it was a water-resistant explosive tag she had previously prepared since this was tacky after all, so it exploded as required. The tacky nin was blown and skidded across the ground, sounding hurt. Fu got to him quickly and landed, withdrawing her wings and taking out a paralysis seal, placing it on his chest. This limited the majority of his movements but didn't stop them completely. You give up, Taki-san. He frowned, showing copper eyes. I'm Jagami Kuronaga. And I'm not done yet, you creature. He then grabbed her ankle. At that, Fu felt her body seize up, like her muscles were no longer under her command. What the hell? She thought because she couldn't say it out loud. Jagami smirked. I don't need to move. As long as I've got water, I am free to do as I wish. Water. Wait, is this one of Taki's clans? Fu thought, trying to recall what the skills of the village was. Problem was she couldn't recall them as well as she could the ones from Konoha. Jagami kept his grin and moved to remove his paralysis seal. Can't figure it out with that bug-addled brain of yours. Let me explain. The human body is about 70% water, so imagine if a person could control external water just as easily as if it were their own body. As long as I'm in contact with water, it's basically a part of my body and will do whatever I want it to. So he's like a water version of Gaara. Fu asked herself. But that doesn't explain. Wait, he couldn't, could he? Jagami stood up, making sure to never take one hand off her before putting another 112, which doubled as using her for leverage and getting up. Oh, and in case you're still too slow to get it, let me remind you the human body is 70% water. As in, your body. Normally this is considered unethical by the village and my clan, but given how you're just a giant bug trapped in a human body, I doubt this will barely be worth complaining about. Fu would have frowned if she had the ability to. Big mistake, buddy, there's one part of me you can't control. Chome, you know what to do. Her Biju chakra cloak began to bubble up, burning Jagami's hand. He recoiled with a pained yell, losing contact and thus control over her. Now Fu could move to her heart's content. You made 3 very bad mistakes, bub. She said, cracking her knuckles and keeping the cloak up. 1. You revealed your trump card too soon. 2. You called me a bug in a human body. And 3. You chose to stand in between me and my true home. Jagami stood his ground, but he was concerned about what he could do now. I can't stop now. I can't let Taki's weapon walk away when it's time to cash in on the plan. I only have one choice left. And now, you have no water to use. Fu added. That's where you're wrong. My body has all the water I need. He pointed out, then did some hand signs. Water-style red water murder jutsu. He spat out a red globe of water that went right at Fu with great speed, wrapping around the girl's head like a smaller specialized version of the water entrapment jutsu, still doing the same job. My Biju cloak isn't getting rid of the water. She noted, unable to remove the water around her head. It must have some chakra suppression skills, but not enough to completely suppress Biju chakra. She increased the cloak to a one-tail level, giving her a faux ribbon tail and the start of a chakra horn on her forehead. The water bubbled a lot more, looking like a balloon during Rasengan training, then it burst completely, allowing her to breathe. Jagami was on the ground panting and looking really dehydrated. The jutsu forced him to sacrifice a good amount of the water in his body to both suffocate and weaken his opponent, and he saw it wasn't enough. Stop her. Someone stop her. At that, dozens of Taki Anbu showed up, throwing seals at the Jinchuriki girl. She jumped, dodging them all, and then used body contraction to shrink small enough to not be seen, dispelling her cloak and growing wings to fly away. Damn, so the terms are off. I wish I could say I'm surprised. What was that? Shibuki asked, watching the fight from a distance. Ito might have been full of himself, but we all agreed Shibuki-sama that letting the Jinchuriki stay in another village on a permanent basis is a bad idea. Bara told him, and the other council members nodded. Oto trained her, now it's time for her to do her true duty. Shibuki frowned. And you expect Oto to just let you get away with this? Ito was able to get information in and out of there. Once we figure out how to do the same, we will ensure the proper outcome. Issei stated. Fools. Shibuki said. Have you forgotten that Oto was listening in on our first meeting? That confused the council member for a moment, but then they realized what he meant. Before they could react, snakes and trees popped out of the ground and constricted around them all, holding them in place. What is this? Shisen asked, struggling in vain. Orochimaru and Kurenai appeared before them. At the same time Minato was disabling Taki's Anbu. We figured one of you would try this. Thing about corruption is it's rarely limited to just one member of the group. Orochimaru told them. You violated the deal, so you thus voided the terms and Fu-chan stays in Odo to her heart's content, whether you like it or not. We need the Shichibi. Our village depends on it. Bara pleaded. So you don't care about the girl, just the Biju. Kurenai chewed out. We need both. Haven't you ever wondered just why our village is the only one to have the hero's water? Bara asked. Doesn't it seem strange that this tree is the only one in the world that produces such water? It's because of the Shichibi and their Jinchuriki. Kurenai arched an eyebrow. Oh. And how is that? The legends say the Shichibi had to pupate to mature, and it did so in this tree. During that time the tree was enhanced by the chakra of the insect and as a result it creates the hero's water. But unless the Shichibi stays around to keep giving it chakra, it stops producing the water. So it's always been tradition to keep the Jinchuriki close to the tree so the insect's chakra is given indirectly. Production is slow but consistent and the village is safer than having the actual demon around and chained to it. So Fu-chan's not just a weapon to you. She's a battery to your unique resource. Kurenai noted, offended. Is this part of why Hashirama gave this village the Shichibi so long ago? Orochimaru asked himself. What did I miss? Minato asked, done with taking down Fu's assailants, accompanied by a pissed-off Fu herself. Just that Taki intends to make Fu-chan live in a tree so they can keep getting special water from it for years to come. Kurenai said. It is her duty. Bara insisted. She is the host of the Shichibi. She is meant to keep the insect close to the tree. She is my daughter-in-law. Minato corrected. She is a valued member of Odo and free to become what she wants to be. Maybe you just see her as the cage for a captured cicada, but it no longer matters. You will never have her. But without the Shichibi we'll lose the hero's water within a few decades. Kohei pleaded, hoping to get them to see reason. Adapt to fight without it. After all, you don't think maybe someday an enemy will figure out how to render it obsolete? Fu suggested. You will never get away from us. Bara threatened. We will get your demon back, with or without you. Then be ready to fight off all of Odo. Orochimaru warned. Otokage-sama, before you leave, I wish to tell you that as long as I'm in charge of Taki we will not attack you. Shibuki said. I wish to believe an arrangement can be made, but I will not contest you over Fu. Her home is with you, not here. She should be there. But maybe it wouldn't be bad for her to occasionally come by and empower the hero tree. I will not say such an idea is forever out of the question, but perhaps if the governing body's mood towards Fu were to change we might be willing to discuss a possibility. Orochimaru said. Until then, thank you for your time Shibuki-sama. Now we're going to take our new Junin to her real home. For the first time in her life, Fu smiled while in Taki. So how are you enjoying your stay in Odo dear? Makoto said to the Kurama clan heiress as she sat in a room that was part of the expert spy's residence. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to go outside yet. Yakumo answered, looking out the window. I understand why, but I'm starting to get cabin fever. The good news is Namikaze-sama and Jiraiya-sama have weakened the seal on you so no one in Konoha can make you go back there. Today they'll be able to remove it completely. And your uncle is recovering well in the hospital so you can visit him today. Yakumo smiled. I'm glad. Also, what about this person I was told wanted to meet me in this village? Is it the boy that freed me from the ID demon? No, he doesn't know you're here. Makoto answered, and saw a somewhat saddened look creep onto the girl's face, making herself grin. Ah, don't be so disappointed. I'm not disappointed, he's just the only person here I had any real interaction with. Yakumo insisted. Then why are you blushing? Makoto asked, making the girl get redder in the face. Kids are so easy to tease. I'm not. Besides, I didn't say anything about wanting to do anything with him. Neither did I. Makoto added, making the younger girl decide to stop before she put more of her foot in her mouth. Makoto giggled for a bit, then stopped. I can bring in the person who does want to meet you if you'd like. Not trusting herself to speak, Yakumo simply nodded. Alright, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Makoto said before departing. After she left, another woman entered the room, dressed in all black and wearing a mask. Hello. Yakumo said, a bit uncomfortable. You've grown up so much. The woman said soothingly, reaching up to take off her mask. Once off, Yakumo gasped. Mom. She couldn't believe it. This was her mother, Yuriko Kurama, a face the girl was very familiar with thanks to old family photos and a portrait the young artist had made of her own lost family. The only difference now was the obvious burn by her mother's left eye. Yuriko smiled warmly and immediately engulfed her daughter in a hug. Yakumo was too surprised to return it, but she didn't refuse it. I'm so glad to see you here, Yakumo. But how are you alive? The painter asked. I was a kunoichi before I was a mother dear. I knew how to handle a fire. I was just luckier than your father, unfortunately. We both were burned and Makoto-san came to us, but she could only take one of us at a time to proper help. By the time she could get back to your father, it was too late. Yakumo still had a lot of questions, but she had no idea where to go from here. Her mother was alive, and it was highly likely that her uncle had known all this time. So why had she been left in the dark? Why hadn't Yuriko returned? Why had someone from Odo helped her in the first place? I can pretty much guess what you're thinking now. Yuriko said to her daughter. I was rescued by someone I work with in Konoha who got me here. I could barely speak. If I could, I would have told them to save you first. So why didn't they come back for me? Did they not know about me? Yakumo asked. They knew, and went back for you. But by the time they got back, that lousy Danzo had already gotten those seals on you that would bring you to him if you left the village. And because our best seal expert at the time was still deceiving Konoha into thinking he was on their side, he couldn't remove them without risking alerting the Warhawk and having him do something worse to you. So as much as we hated it, the best we could do was wait it out. And so once you had the Yondaime back, you could remove them from me safely. Yakumo asked. Yuriko nodded. Jiraiya-sama had tried learning on his own, but it was hard for him to get an understanding of your seals given how he couldn't get close enough to you to study them. Once Namikaze-sama came back, that was no longer a concern. So am I here to stay? Yakumo asked. Do you want to go back to Konoha? Yuriko asked. Before you say it's your home, remember what it did to you, what it's done to others, and what it will do soon. Konoha is no longer safe for you, dear, Odo is. How can you be sure? You think I've been doing nothing here? I've got a job here too that keeps me well informed of threats. I'm actually in charge of Odo's torture and interrogation division, with my own codename here too. On the job, I'm called Shi. Yakumo blinked, surprised that her mother was this village's version of Ibiki. Let me take you to my home, sweetheart. If I can, I'll see if that boy you mentioned will be willing to talk to you. You might feel better about staying here if someone your own age can sell you on the idea. Yakumo simply nodded, and got up to leave with her estranged parent. When she was done, Makoto went back to her home and looked at her newest guest, her own son digged back into infancy. Next to him in the crib was an equally digged Kisame, mainly because the higher-ups didn't know what to do with him. Itachi, a baby again. Feels like only yesterday he was a baby in the first place. Geez, that is such a mother cliché. She thought, mentally laughing at herself for a moment. What do I do? Do I leave him this way or ask Naruto to return him to normal? She had gone over the pros and cons of both ideas several times, and even now she just could not come up with an answer. Each time she went over the options, it felt like she was just going around in circles. If I leave them as children, they can be raised better this time so they won't be criminals anymore. And Sasuke would hopefully be better than killing a baby just to satisfy some sense of honor. But we don't really know what effect Naruto's age control has on the mind of someone made this young. We assume their brains lose most of the memories, but we can't prove it. What if leaving them like this is mental torture? But if we make them adults, what do we do then? Kill them. Getting no answers, she sighed. Maybe I need a second opinion. She left the room and headed outside, walking down the streets taking the time to let in the sights of Odo. As a village, it was not unlike Konoha in basic appearance. Likely a result of the founders originally being from Konoha, but traces of Kiri architecture were mixed in as well, combined with the local touches of land of rice that the builders had put in. After turning a corner she saw not who she was looking for, but someone who could tell her where to look. Hey! She called out to get their attention. Subsonic. Hinata asked, out on a walk with Fu. Naruto wasn't there with them. I'm off duty so it's just Makoto at the moment. Do either of you know where Naruto is at the moment? Yeah, and Alto said that she from T and I wanted to talk to him for a moment. Hinata answered. Oh, he's not in trouble, the Alto assured him of that. It sounded like she just needed to talk to him. Me and her both. Makoto remarked. Say girls, do either of you know what the mental side effects of his age control are? Fu put her hand on her chin. Not off the top of my head. I think he said that if the aging affects the physical structure of the brain it could in theory have an effect on memory. Hinata stated, only to have her eyes widened for a brief second. Oh wait, that was something Tsunade-sama theorized, not Naru-kun. But he said when he thought about it he could see that happening. So if I leave my son in infant form, his mind will regress to that of an infant. And returning him to his original age might not undo the process. Makoto thought out not stating anything or asking anything, just getting the thought out there. So that's been bothering you? Hinata asked, only to shrug. Well Makoto-san, I might be a bit biased in this, but given who your son grew up to be, personally I'd be grateful for this chance to start over with him. And he's been an infant for how long now? Fu added in. Maybe it's already too late. I didn't think of that. Makoto thought, then after a moment she sighed. You're probably right girls. Maybe it would be better to just let Itachi grow up all over again. Maybe this time I can be a good mother. It's not your fault he became a criminal Makoto-san. Remember the Hokage and those geezers pushed him to do everything. Hinata claimed. Yes, but he still chose to do it. Even if he believed it was wrong, he still chose to listen to them. Itachi might not have been as spoiled as Sasuke, but in the end he decided he'd rather be the bad guy than fight the bad guys. I feel I have to teach him better this time. Speaking of which, when are you going to go see your other son? Fu asked. In a week. My assistants in Konoha are closing up everything they have in Konoha so they can leave either way when it's time. With Konoha pretty much subdued, we should focus our attention towards Akatsuki and if any of the other villages want to do something about us. Konoha will still be a risk, even more so if we're not paying attention to it. Hinata pointed out. We'll be checking on it from time to time. We just have the luxury of not needing full-time spies anymore. Hishi-sama, what's up? Naruto asked as he saw the head of the Oto torture and interrogation department in her office. And she wasn't alone. Hi there too. Hey, don't I know you from somewhere? Yakumo was wide-eyed but didn't say anything, surprised that she was seeing the boy who beat her ID demon again. Thanks for showing up Naruto. Yuroko said at her desk. I'd like you to meet my daughter Yakumo. Yakumo. Naruto repeated, the name familiar to him, and then he placed it. Oh yeah, weren't you the girl I faced in the prelims? She nodded. How's your head been since then? Yuroko gave the boy a dark look at that, making him nervous. Sorry Shi-sama, but I couldn't think of a better way to phrase it. Ever since you did what you did, my mind has been clear and my powers have been stable. Yakumo said, having a hard time looking at him. Are you afraid of me? He asked. Yakumo did not answer. My daughter was never able to truly socialize back in Konoha, and her team wasn't exactly an interactive one from what I'm told. She's not afraid, just shy. Yuroko said on her daughter's behalf. He nodded. So why am I here exactly? My daughter has recently moved here from Konoha due to the village not being a safe place for her anymore. In the past we couldn't bring her here without risking her life, but thanks to your father that was fixed. I thought you could show her around town and help her get adjusted to her new surroundings. You're the only one besides myself she's had any positive interaction with already, and you do have a way of making women feel at ease around you after all. She finished with a light-hearted chuckle. Naruto shrugged. Alright, but if the girls get upset about this I'm telling them it was all your idea. Yuroko chuckled more. Your girlfriends don't stand a chance at scaring me. Then you won't mind if I tell Fu your address. Naruto said, then turned to Yakumo. You want to go walk around? Feeling she wasn't supposed to say no, Yakumo nodded and left with Naruto. I might be sleeping in my office for a night or two if that girl does anything to my house. Yuriko thought, picturing Fu setting up all sorts of traps. When Yakumo came to Oto, it had been night so she didn't really get a good look at it. Seeing it in the daylight showed that it was a rather normal-looking town. With the exception of the surrounding walls and watchtowers, there was virtually nothing that made it look like a ninja village. Let me guess, you were expecting something more sinister from the village that attacked Konoha, right? Naruto asked, seeing her disbelieving face. No, not sinister. I don't really know what I expected this place to look like. She confessed. Why is it called Oto anyway? How can you hide a village in sound? It's got a lot to do with our defense system mostly. Another part is to throw our enemies off. With Konoha you know to look for a forest and Suna you know to look for a desert. How exactly do you go looking for sound? Yakumo nodded. I see. Well, I've never had to give a tour so I don't know what to show you. Anything you liked back in Konoha? He asked. The painter shrugged half-heartedly. I didn't really get out much. If I wasn't on a mission I was happy to stay home. But I do like natural surroundings and colorful places. They inspire me to make my art. My first thought is one of our parks, but I know a better place. Naruto said. Where? She asked. He smiled. It's a surprise. The brunette girl followed the whiskered blonde to the southern end of town, taking her right to the perimeter wall around the village. He stopped at the gate, where atop was one of the guard stations armed with the sonic cannons, and started walking up the walls right to it. What are you doing? Yakumo asked, not expecting this. Come on up, you'll like what you see. He said. Nervous, but trusting him, she started going up the wall too. They got to the top and stood by the sonic cannon. But of course right there was Jirobo standing with his arms crossed, having been alerted by some security seals Jiraiya had in place to signal him if anyone tried using chakra to climb the wall within the southern region. What are you two doing here? Hi Jirobo. I'm just showing my new friend Yakumo-chan here around Oto. Naruto greeted, familiar with the largest member of the Sound Five even if not as much as he was with Tayuya. Yakumo put her hands together and bowed. Hello good sir, I am Yakumo Kurama. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Jirobo smiled. Finally, a polite lady. Is she one of your wives Naruto? Yakumo's eyes popped open at that but the rest of her face remained the same, but now colored red. Oh no, she's just new to the area and I'm sort of her tour guide. She's Shisama's missing daughter. Oh, she. Well then, make yourselves comfortable you two. I'll be back to my lunch if that's okay. Sorry for disturbing you. Yakumo said. Jirobo gave another smile. I'm starting to like this girl. So what did you bring her to see? The view. Naruto answered. Yakumo then looked out over the wall, seeing the landscape that was south of Oto. She saw a large expansion of forest covering the landscape very much like she had seen in Konoha, so seeing this here quickly put her at ease. But there were some differences to this view. A small mountain peak could be seen poking out of the trees like an island in a sea, and to her right she saw a gap between trees large enough to qualify as a canyon. But the real beauty was in the trees itself. They weren't the normal green of Konoha. These trees were red, yellow, and various mixtures. It was rather beautiful to look at. Quite a sight isn't it? Naruto said to the shy girl. This is the Ayanaki forest, so named because the trees look like they're in an eternal autumn. One of my favorite places to train in because it's the only place in the world where orange actually is a perfect camouflage color. I've never seen trees like this. The forests of Konoha are all evergreen. The Shodai Hokage created them to withstand even the harshest winter and stay flourishing. Yakumo noted, taking in the display of color before her that was daring her to capture it on canvas. Well, not to diss the Shodai or anything, but Konoha doesn't exactly get harsh winters now does it? Naruto replied. Right away Yakumo took out her sketchpad and pencil and worked on sketching what she saw, starting with the canopy tops. You're doing a black and white picture of this place? Naruto asked, not expecting that. I want to make a painting that does this site justice. Here I can get the design right to I can get it onto a canvas at my convenience then come back to add in the coloring. Plus this way gives me time to find the time of day with the best lighting to really bring out the colors. She said, keeping her eyes on her sketchpad in the forest. Naruto smiled. Not so shy when in your comfort zone are you? I used to be shy even then, back before you did what you did. She replied, not sure how else to phrase. She paused for a bit, tapping the sketchpad with the end of her pencil as she tried to think of what to say next. Why did you do that to me anyway if you were just going to invade? We weren't there to destroy Konoha. Just take a few corrupt people out of power and let Konoha decide who should take their place. Hopefully now they know not to just put new corrupt people in power instead. What if they do? What if all your village did was make Konoha angry and want revenge? Yakumo asked, going back to her drawing. Then Konoha made its choice regarding whether or not it cares anymore about what its founders intended for it and will have to deal with the consequences. The whiskered blonde said, rather sagely at that in fact. However, Yakumo wasn't exactly sympathetic to his answer. What was your name again? Naruto. Naruto, I think you and Odo forgot one important thing when you came up with this plan. People change over time. People, villages, cultures, we all change as we get older and experience new things. Be it for good or bad, change is inevitable. Maybe Konoha no longer is what it was when it first started out, but it was never meant to stay that way forever. It was meant to adapt and become something else. Change is going to happen, but what your village did, it's like you're saying Konoha was never supposed to change and it should be ashamed of itself for doing so. That was not a good message to get across. You're right, that wouldn't be. But that wasn't the message or the point. He countered calmly, leaning back a little to relax more. I agree with you that change is going to happen for good or bad and Konoha can't remain static. Someday Oto isn't going to be what it is today, it could get better or it could become deserving of invasion itself along the lines. The problem is that with change comes consequence. Konoha thought it could get away with avoiding the consequences of its own changes. How do you know that? She challenged. Several things. For starters, the Sandaime tries to get Suna to destroy itself by scaring the Kazekage into treating a Jinchuriki like a savage. That means he thought he could get away with destroying an ally to the village who would have been a great deal of help in a possible future war, all to make some extra money right away. He chose short-term money over long-term allegiance and thought he could get away with it. So what did Suna do when Konoha actually needed help to fight someone off? The painter girl said nothing, remembering that Suna had helped Oto in the invasion. Now she had an idea as to why. Another reason comes from when I was born. Not long after that, the head of the Uchiha tried a genjutsu over the whole village to get them to try and hate me. Now, as a genjutsu expert yourself, tell me, how would a genjutsu like that actually work? Well, for starters when you spread a single genjutsu over multiple targets it doesn't work as simple as it sounds. Yakumo started, moving to start drawing in the mountain peak. Let's use my art for comparison. For quick results I have to use simple pictures that get the job done without complication but are thus considered low quality. More effective results require me to put in more time and effort into making it have more solid applications to the target, but of course that requires me to have the luxury of preparing the genjutsu ahead of time. Alright, now with that, tell me what it means when one man tries a genjutsu over a village to make them think one way. Naruto asked. Yakumo thought it over. Well, I doubt he had much time to do so for the best results, and even then spreading a genjutsu over a whole village all at once would stretch it so thin that the only way it could work was to make it as simple as possible. Unless somehow the Sharingan adds in a factor I don't know about, the only way such a genjutsu could work was if it didn't put an idea into people's heads, but... She paused as the implication hit her, making her feel a bit disturbed. It made people more willing to act on an idea they already had. Naruto nodded. Meaning the people of Konoha had already decided to hate me and all he did was make them feel less guilty about it than they already did. He frowned a bit. My parents died to save that village, and Konoha's idea of being grateful was to make me wish I had died instead of them. Assuming I had stayed there longer than 3 years of course. This just means you're biased regarding Konoha. Yakumo proclaimed. Yes I'm biased, I admit that. But it means more than that. It means Konoha takes its leaders for granted. You heard a lot about how great the Yondaime was back when you were growing up. But did anyone ever actually tell you anything about him? They said he saved us from Iwa and the Kyuubi. Yakumo answered. And? Naruto probed. Yakumo arched an eyebrow, and quickly realized she had nothing else to say. Well, that doesn't prove they took him for granted. They liked what he did, they didn't respect him. If they did, they wouldn't be willing to ignore his dying request and have so little guilt over it that a stretched genjutsu would kill it off. They praise him for his successes, but once he was gone and they no longer had to be nice to him, they showed how little they actually cared about him. And if you still don't believe me, in the academy did they ever teach you what the Yondaime believed or fought for? Yakumo thought back, remembering any lessons on Minato Namikaze she had. After thinking past the list of accomplishments, she found she couldn't remember a single time anyone had ever actually described him as a person. No one said what he believed, what he had hoped to do, or why he even wanted to be Hokage in the first place. All anyone ever talked about was his victories. It was like everything else about him just wasn't worth remembering. Okay, maybe Konoha did take the Yondaime for granted. But that alone doesn't mean Konoha was changing in a bad way. Yakumo, when a fire starts, how much of the house has to burn before you decide to start putting it out? Naruto asked. Yakumo frowned and put down her sketchpad, the drawing well done but incomplete. She gave him an ugly look, one that could compare to the looks Hinata had given the Hyuga in Konoha. It actually made him feel a little nervous. My parents almost died in a house fire. Naruto closed his eyes and lowered his head. Sorry, bad choice of metaphor and I apologize. He then looked back up at her. But do you at least see the point I was going for? She closed her eyes for a bit and took a few calming breaths, his analogy hitting a sore spot for her. I'm willing to accept that your village had the right intentions for Konoha, but you weren't unbiased in those intentions, so you might have seen things as worse than they actually were. You as in Oto, or you as in me? He asked. She looked to him for a moment with a more peaceful look on her face now before getting back to drawing. The first. I don't want to be ungrateful to the boy who basically gave me my sanity back. Well, if you want to hear more on why Oto did what it did, you should talk to your mom or the Otokage. All I can tell you is what I was told and why I agree it was for the best. The way I see it, Konoha as changing for the worse, becoming a village that thinks it can somehow get away with treating others like crap, and we showed the village it can't do that forever. Right now, what they change into from here is all on them. I actually hope Konoha does become good again. But I won't be upset to fight against it again if they decide to get worse. Too bad I can't paint the future. Yakumo thought, accepting his beliefs even if she didn't fully agree with him. What happened to Itachi and Kisame? The leader of the Akatsuki demanded to know. We don't know, sir. They've just vanished. Even Zetsu can't find them. Another member answered. They were looking for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, which has been seen with the revived Yellow Flash. Maybe he killed them. Another member suggested. First we have those two disappear, and Hidan and Kakuzu couldn't get us the Shichibi Jinchuriki. The leader complained. Hey, we made it back, didn't we? Hidan replied. We are at risk of needing to go on hiatus soon. The Mizukage is in a dangerous situation and hasn't been planning any means to safely transfer the Sanbi into a new host. We suspect he intends to have it die with him at this point. The leader stated. And if that happens, we'll have to wait 3 years or so for the Biju to reform in this world. During that time it would be pointless to gather the rest. I disagree. If we gather the rest while we wait for the Sanbi to reform, then by the time it does reform it will be the only thing we have left to get. Kakuzu claimed. Yes, but how long will we be able to hide the statue during those 3 years without being found or relocating it? I believe it is more practical to use these 3 years to lull the other villages into thinking we've given up on the Jinchuriki, so when the Sanbi reforms everyone will be caught off guard by us. The leader said. True, I support this leader Sama, but I must admit I'd feel better about the waiting if we already had one of the Biju in our possession. Another member said. The leader nodded. I would feel better as well. So I'd like to make one last effort to collect a Jinchuriki. I'd like to get that girl who made fools of us. Kakuzu offered. I could make it easier to maybe get one of the two in Iwa. Another added. We will only go for one, so let's vote. Do we go for an Iwa Jinchuriki, or the one that Taki used to have? The leader asked. This was it, the day Sasuke had waited for since the invasion of Konoha. The day his mother would return to him and issue her ultimatum. They could be a family again, at the cost of his vengeance, or she'd be just as much an enemy to him as Itachi was. This had been on Sasuke's mind all month, making him appear continually distracted or adrift to others. This didn't stop people from trying to get back on his good side now that he had his Sharingan back. They practically resented me when I lost my Dujutsu, now they're trying to make me forget they ever did that. He thought to himself as he did some target practice at Team 7's training ground. He came here for at least a semblance of feeling like he wasn't being watched, which in a shinobi village was very hard to actually accomplish. But back at his place, it felt like his mother was right there watching him, trying to pressure him into deciding what she clearly wanted him to. Damn it, why does she have to ask me that? He rued while throwing some kunai, his issues affecting his aim and making him not really care about it. It's like she doesn't care that he killed everyone. Our whole family, her husband, everyone she knew. Why the hell would she not be demanding his blood like me? You know Sasuke, traditionally the goal of training is to hit the target, not the ground. Kakashi commented carefreely while approaching his student. What do you want? Sasuke groaned, feeling annoyed. Can't a guy see how his student is doing? Somehow I don't think you'd be here if I was Sakura or Sai. Sasuke grunted. He had always been aware of his sensei's favoritism, not that he minded it. Hell, he had always thought he deserved it. But right now, Kakashi wasn't who he needed to talk to, if anyone. They don't have any problems right now. You do. Kakashi pointed out. Sasuke frowned. Like you have any clue to what my problems are. Yes I do. You're starting to doubt whether or not you're strong enough to face Itachi and. You really think you know what's on my mind? Sasuke asked loudly without actually yelling. You think you're so smart. Remember back in Wave when you saw the wife of the Yondaime herself and her son? You said to her face that her son wasn't important at all. And look who the chump turned out to be. The Junin had the good grace to look hurt and ashamed. He did remember that encounter, where he accused Kushina of cheating on Minato and called her son insignificant and a bastard child, all because he refused to consider the possibility that it was Minato's son. Sure, the late Fugaku's genjutsu could be blamed for that, but even after Minato, back from the dead, told everyone what they had done to his son, a part of Kakashi remained in denial. The very boy Kushina had with her, the boy that had been right in front of him, was his sensei's son and he hadn't even known it. For the past months since the invasion and Konoha's proverbial ass-kicking, Kakashi had sequestered himself, throwing himself into his work and his porn while ignoring others as much as possible, also he could deal with his inner turmoils. Or more accurately, deny them. He didn't want to believe that Naruto had been Minato's son. He didn't want to believe that Konoha had abused the boy to the point he sought safety in another village entirely. He didn't want to believe that Minato would choose another village over Konoha, over him. It went against everything he wanted to believe. But the evidence was damning, and if Kakashi could be so wrong on something he wanted to be right on, what else was he wrong about? Had there actually been a way to save Rin? Did his sensei not respect him as much as Kakashi assumed? Was he honoring Obito the wrong way this whole time? We're not talking about me Sasuke, we're talking about you. He said, trying to get back on track. No, you're talking about me. I'm not talking at all. Sasuke said before turning around to leave. Acting quickly, Kakashi threw out some monowire and bound Sasuke, which also resulted in him falling on his face. The Junin maneuvered his student to look up then stood over him. Sasuke, whether you like it or not, this is something you need to hear. You lost the Sharingan once, you're afraid you could lose it again. And if that can happen, then how can you beat your brother? Kakashi started. Did you ever consider maybe not going after him? Sasuke blinked. Why would I do that? Mom said she had people here working with her and keeping an eye on me for her. Was he one of them this whole time? The young Uchiha asked himself. Itachi is powerful, but he's still a man. He's going to die someday like anyone else, be it at your hands or another. For all you know, he's already dead. Would it really be so bad if Itachi died without it being at your hands? Sasuke frowned. But then my clan wouldn't be avenged. Did they need to be avenged? Kakashi challenged. For years you've been acting like the Uchiha have lost no honor or status at all. Like they lost only numbers but nothing else, so if that's the case then there's no lost honor to avenge. Which is it, Sasuke? Have you been lying all these years? Or are you alone worth as much as the entire clan was? Sasuke didn't answer, mostly out of stubbornness but partly because he honestly wasn't sure what the right answer was. Was he truly that delusional? Or was he truly that arrogant? Either way, Sasuke, maybe you should just let it go. Kakashi continued. Yes, everyone you knew is dead, but killing Itachi won't bring them back. And there's nothing stopping you from getting close to other people. And don't give me any excuse about doing so would put them at risk with Itachi. Your brother hasn't shown up for over 6 years. I think if he was going to come back for you he would have done so by now. What am I supposed to do? Pretend that night never happened. Let Itachi get away with it? Sasuke asked, not just for Kakashi but for his mother even though she couldn't answer him right then. Have something else to live for. Don't act like killing Itachi is the end-all be-all of your life. Because if you do think that, then you might as well die with your brother, for what else will you have to live for? Sasuke didn't answer, and Kakashi untied the wire before swiftly departing, intending to have his student think this over before getting back to him. The young Uchiha stood up and dusted himself off, not feeling any better, then left the training ground as well. Sasuke-kun. He mentally groaned and continued walking, pretending he heard nothing. Sasuke-kun, wait up. Sakura repeated, managing to catch up to him. Didn't you hear me? They heard you in the capital. He grumbled. What do you want? How are you doing? How are your eyes? Any problems? I know how much they mean to you. She asked in a caring way. They're fine. As good as ever. He replied. Sakura smiled. Great. Is it true you also got to become a Chunin? Sasuke frowned. They offered, but I turned it down. Sakura lost her smile, replacing it with surprise. What? Why would you do that, Sasuke-kun? Sakura, I didn't earn it. None of us got to the finals. None of us are strong enough to be Chunin. You are. The Pink Kid protested. You were the top of the class. A class we haven't been in for about a year. He reminded her. They were insulting me. They thought if they gave me a promotion I'd forget how quick they were to brush me aside when I lost my Sharingan. My promotion was a bribe, a way to shut me up and cover their asses. No, it wasn't. Sakura countered naively. It was to show how much they respect you. No one in Konoha would disrespect you. Sasuke glared at her, making her step back. Oh really? So I imagined all those months when I didn't have the Sharingan. I imagined all those people telling me that without my eyes I was a nobody to them. I imagined all the laughs and jeers from others that thought I couldn't hear them. Come on Sasuke-kun, all that's in the past now. You have your eyes back and people love you again. So what if the promotion was a token one? No one else got offered one, you're the only one who deserves it. Isn't that saying something? Sasuke surprisingly nodded. Yes, it's saying that Konoha loves my eyes but not me. I see the truth now, Sakura. For years this village has been praising me non-stop for being the last Uchiha, but take away my eyes and suddenly they hate me. Did I stop being the last Uchiha at that point? No, I didn't. Konoha doesn't give a crap about the Uchiha, the Sharingan is all they care about. But it's not like you'll ever lose it again. Sakura stated. I lost it once, I can lose it again. Maybe permanently this time. Then how much will people love me again? He challenged. I'm not going to accept any token apology of theirs if they have no problem telling me off the next time something like this happens. But it's not going to happen again. You're too strong for that. Sakura insisted. Sasuke looked away in disgust and a bit of self-loathing. That's what I thought before it happened. Rather than continue this conversation he was already sick of, Sasuke used a substitution jutsu with a log to get away from his teammate, opting to take a different route home. It was fortunate for him that this time she wasn't able to find him before he got there. So this is Oto. Yakumo thought as she took a stroll in the village, alone this time. I gotta admit, this does have a homey feel to it. Yakumo had only been here for a short time, so naturally she didn't quite feel at home in this village yet. Her mother had brought her to her new home, with a room already prepared for the young girl, and the two had been catching up. Yakumo hadn't realized just how much she had missed her mom until she had her back. Now, with Yuriko at work and Naruto doing some training with his friends and wives, Yakumo was having some alone time just seeing the town. At first glance, Oto reminded her of Konoha. It was only natural, the founders had been from Konoha and couldn't help but take some inspiration from it in creating their own city. The architecture was a little different, more rural and open, but the most obvious difference was all the buildings still looked new. None of them looked rebuilt, or damaged from invasion. She walked down a street, looking at each building as she passed. There were some apartment buildings, a simple grocer, and what looked like a pharmacy on the upcoming corner, all of which looked similar and the same age. She also saw a ramen stand, and started to feel hungry. Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen. Ayame greeted when Yakumo entered. What can I get for you? The painter sniffed the air, enjoying the brewing aroma. I'm not sure. What would you recommend for someone who's never had this before? Ayame blinked then smiled. I'd go with miso. A simple non-threatening flavor to start off of, unless you want something more specific like beef, pork, shrimp, or vegetarian. I'll try the vegetarian one. Yakumo requested, taking a seat at a stall. Ayame nodded and got started, telling her father in the back to get to work on the other part of it. Be glad our best customer wasn't here to hear you say that. He might blow a gasket to hear you say you've never had ramen before. Yakumo took out some money her mother had given her to pay for her meal ahead of time. Isn't it pointless to be so enthusiastic about food? Maybe, but it hurts no one. He even gave my dad the idea for a new low-fat version of ramen. Dad's still trying to get the recipe right. The door chimed and in walked another customer. It was a girl about Yakumo's age with short dark orange hair and wore a white shirt over a red dress. Her eyes were covered with bright pink sunglasses, similar to Shino except for the color. Hello, welcome to Ichiraku Ramen. What can I get for you today? Ayame greeted as the new girl took a stool at the counter, with only one separating her from Yakumo. I'll have some shrimp ramen thank you. Ayame nodded and went to the back room to help her father work on the extra order. Yakumo looked to the other girl. Hi, I'm Yakumo. I'm kinda new to town. The other girl looked at her for a bit in a way that would probably bother others, however thanks to having Shino as a teammate the painter was unfazed. I'm Takeo, and what do you mean new to town? I mean I just moved here from somewhere else. Oh, not something you'd expect in a ninja village. Are you a ninja? Yakumo asked. Takeo shook her head. Not yet, I didn't pass last year but this year I will. As long as I get assigned decent partners for once. She then rubbed her right temple, as if she was getting a bit of a headache. So what's there to do in Oto? Yakumo asked. You know how to roller skate? Takeo asked, and Yakumo shook her head. You willing to learn? Hello everyone, welcome to my humble home. The Wind Daimyo said to his guests. Standing next to him was his teenage son, dressed formally but appropriate for the desert heat. Humble's not a word I would use to describe this place. The Cage greeted back, leading the group into the ivory stone palace. The fountains here have more water than a single house in Suna uses in a week. Ah Rasa, still got that dry wit I see. The daimyo replied, trying not to be annoyed. Wow, it really is you. The prince said with excitement as he approached the one guest he actually wanted to see. I can't believe my eyes. The actual yellow flash of Konoha, right here in my house and back from the dead. You truly are the greatest cage ever. Please, be careful of the flattery when your own cage is right here. Minato replied with a friendly smile. Oh, it's fine. Besides, you're my guest here, it would be rude to not be polite. The daimyo stated on his son's behalf, then looked over the others. And who are the rest? I am Orochimaru, the leader of Otogakure. With me are my former teammates Jiraiya and Tsunade. I believe I told you we'd be here in our request for an audience. The daimyo nodded. Yes, I remember. But if you'll pardon me, the Yondaime Hokage kind of stood out more compared to the other names on the list. I'm not the Hokage anymore, and I wish to have no affiliation with Konoha again. Minato claimed. In fact, this is part of why we wished to speak with you. Oh really? Well, let's take a seat and discuss this matter. The royal figure led them all to his throne room where the servants soon brought out an ornate table and some chairs and tea. Everyone sat down, Rasa and Minato on one side with the Sannin on the other, the daimyo naturally taking the head of the table, his son next to him. From what I've heard, Suna and Konoha have been allies for quite some time. The daimyo started. I was quite surprised to hear that Suna had attacked the Leaf Village with the aid of another that I've never heard of. Of course that surprise faded when I heard the Yellow Flash was involved and deserted Konoha. I presume you're here to tell me your side of the story. In a way, but not out of some need to justify ourselves. Rasa answered. Why not? You betrayed your ally. How can you justify that? The prince asked in a clearly accusing way. Ally. They tried to destroy Suna, and this dynasty was willing to help them. If anything, I am the victim here. Daimyo-sama, he is not wrong. Orochimaru added in, knowing the ruler would be quick to dismiss the Kage's claim. The Sandaime Hokage had been trying to get Suna's Jinchuriki to go insane and destroy the village from within. It's only thanks to us getting to him first that Kage-sama didn't let that happen. And if you don't mind me asking, are the claims that you've been sending more business to Konoha true? Minato asked. Don't you realize how impractical it is to do that on a regular basis? Once in a while is one thing, but 9 out of 10 times is costing you more than you're saving. I prefer to think of it as investing in the return of the Hiraishin. The daimyo claimed simply. To what end? If Konoha had managed to recreate it, did you think Konoha would give it to Suna? Jiraiya asked. When the time came I would have reminded them of all the generosity I've given them and persuaded them to return the favor. Minato frowned. You were trying to buy the jutsu. The daimyo looked up for a moment. I suppose you could call it that, yes. And if Suna had gone bankrupt, who would have been left to use it? Rasa asked. Me. The prince piped up. This was never for Suna, I wanted the Hiraishin for myself. Yourself. Minato repeated. Are you a ninja? No, and I don't want to be. I just like the Hiraishin and think it would be awesome to use. The ninja were silent for a bit, then Minato, Jiraiya, and Rasa broke out into laughter. Orochimaru rolled his eyes though it looked like he wanted to laugh, and Tsunade simply shook her head in disapproval. The prince glared at the ninja. Stop laughing at me. Who the hell do you think you are to mock me? My boy, we are much more familiar with jutsu than you are. They laugh, as disrespectful as it is, because your claim is in a word, naive. Orochimaru answered. Naive. In what way am I naive? The prince asked, offended. Allow me to explain. Minato started, certain the daimyo's son would be more willing to hear this from him than from others. The Hiraishin is a very advanced space-time ninjutsu. It is not something just anyone can do. Even someone who can do it would need years to learn it, learn fuinjutsu in general, and hone their body and chakra to be able to perform it ahead of time. The prince scoffed. Oh please, you ninja make it sound like all your fancy tricks are complicated, but if they were then there wouldn't be so many ninja in the world. And last time I looked, there's no shortage of you out there. Minato frowned. So you think all jutsu are something just anyone can do? The prince nodded. They can't all be bloodlines. My son is right. The daimyo agreed. If my son could learn the Hiraishin he'd be a shining star among the other emperors and business would boom for our country, making up for any loss that Suna has suffered over the years. How? Everyone asked together. How what? The prince asked. How does you simply having the Hiraishin make you money? Rasa specified. The prince shrugged. I don't know how it would have done so specifically, but I'm positive that having the Hiraishin would have made my reign prosper. So it wouldn't have mattered if your little sandpit of a village had some budget cuts over the years. It would have worked out in the end anyway. Rasa frowned. So that was your plan. Put your hidden village in a recession so you could buy a lost jutsu that you couldn't even use, and just hope it all worked out in the end. What was your original plan if Konoha had refused? Tsunade asked. Claim they owe you the jutsu. The prince frowned. We are owed the jutsu. After all the money we gave that village, I think I'm allowed to ask for one thing in return. You can't use it. Minato stated. You don't have the body, education, or chakra for it. Besides, the only person I have any intention of giving the jutsu to is my son. Namikaze-san, please be reasonable. The daimyo said. Surely an understanding can be reached. Perhaps you could teach my son how to use the jutsu. Minato frowned but didn't say anything right away, though he did turn to look back at the prince. What would you do if I did give you the jutsu? That's none of your concern. The prince scoffed. Answer the question. The prince frowned and leaned forward. Who are you to command me? Son, please, he is a guest and we must treat him with respect. The daimyo told him, then looked back to the former yondaime. My son has been entranced by tales of your accomplishments in the last war since he was a child. He always wanted to learn how to do what you did, and for a time I hired some shinobi to tutor him, but in his youth he was rather impatient and didn't want to practice. Now that he's older he should be better prepared for such training. Sure doesn't sound like it. Tsunade muttered. Minato kept his eyes on the prince. Boy, are you prepared to do things like walk up trees, practice throwing kunai, making? I don't want to do any of that. The prince cut him off. I just want the Hiraishin. Nothing else. You can't do that. You have to go through a lot of prerequisite training just to be fit enough to use the jutsu. What you're asking for is like asking for a boat but you refuse to learn how to sail. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah, at best all you're getting is a sword to put on display. And you can't even do that with a jutsu. So what do you want with it? I want to have fun with it. I want to show off and prove I'll be the best daimyo ever. I want that jutsu, no other, and I refuse to accept your lie that I have to learn other stuff first. I don't want the other stuff, I want the Hiraishin. The prince declared, pounding his fists on the table and rising to his feet. Sit down. The daimyo ordered to his son, who refused to obey. Son, these people are the experts here. If they say you can't use the Hiraishin, then you can't use it. Like it or not, there are some childhood dreams you are better off outgrowing. No. I want the Hiraishin. You can't use it. All three Sannin said together. And right now you're not acting like you're the kind of person who should be using it even if you could. Minato added. Do you want me to declare war on your village? The prince asked in a clearly threatening way. Suna will not go to war with Oto. Rasa proclaimed. You will if I command it. Rasa rose to his feet. You are not the daimyo, and frankly you are unfit to be the daimyo. He then looked to the rightful ruler. I strongly suggest you either reign in this child, or find a new heir. I'll keep that in mind. The prince turned to his father. What? You can't be listening to him. I am the rightful heir. And you still have much to learn. Maybe more than I had thought. Either way, it's unwise to make an enemy out of the cage. He then looked back to the ninja. I suppose more work should be going back to Suna, and perhaps my son should spend some time in the village. It'll give him some respect for the work ninja put into their routine. I don't want to spend all day in a sand pit. The son protested. It'll do him good to see how things really work. Jiraiya claimed. This boy looks at us and thinks what we do is easy, completely ignoring what we had to do to get as good as we are. Therefore he assumes that anyone can have our talents and he can pick and choose which ones he wants for himself. It's like seeing Tsunade chug down dozens of sake bottles and assuming you can do that too. He then turned to his wife. No offense, dear. None taken, I actually agree with your comparison. I've earned my tolerance, and spending time seeing what ninja actually do might be a healthy dose of reality for this kid. I'm not going to that village. The prince repeated. Why don't you leave? We need to discuss real business. Rasa stated. The prince looked to his father for support, but the daimyo shook his head. Son, that would be best. With an offended huff, the prince left the room. I apologize. I suppose some children just take longer to grow up than others. The daimyo apologized. So, what kind of agreement can we come to? The sun had set and the Anbu with night shifts were out patrolling the village to keep people safe. Sasuke sat in his bedroom looking out the window, as if to gaze at the moon, but he was really looking for something else. More specifically, someone else. Has this been a good month to you, son? Only somewhat startled, Sasuke looked at the doorway to his bedroom to see his mother, unmasked, standing there, looking at him both with care and with caution. I was wondering if you had been bluffing. Sasuke told her, trying to hide how glad he was that she had come back. I never bluff, Sasuke. Any threat you make, no matter how significant or insignificant, never bother making it at all if you're not willing to carry it out. She replied. Have you decided? I have to ask you something first. Sasuke claimed. Why? Why the hell don't you want Itachi dead? He's my son. What mother would want her son dead? Makoto replied. Sasuke frowned. But he killed our family. He killed my father. And which are you more upset about? Makoto asked. Sasuke blinked then raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? What angers you more? That Itachi killed the clan, or that he killed your father? Both anger me. Makoto narrowed her eyes. And which one angers you more? Which one are you truly trying to avenge? What's the difference, Mom? What are you trying to say? Sasuke asked, getting angry but not wanting to turn her against him. I'm saying, are you doing all this just because now you'll never get to hear your father praise you? Makoto asked, getting in her son's face with fire practically in her eyes. It actually made Sasuke feel less than a foot tall. Last month I said I was afraid you wanted to kill Itachi just to prove you could do it. But if you are an avenger like you won't shut up about, then who are you trying to prove that to? Yourself. Konoha. The clan. Or your father? Whose approval are you trying to get? Sasuke had never learned how to deal with someone trying to put him in his place, so despite the fact that this was his mother and he didn't want to get on her bad side, he was feeling offended and unjustly scrutinized. My father, okay. There you happy. He's the one I've been trying to avenge. And why wouldn't I? Itachi robbed me of any chance to ever get his praise. I can't avenge the entire clan. I don't even remember most of their names anymore. Why should I avenge them all? I don't want their approval. I want his. I want Dad to finally say I'm the superior son. I want to be the one he's proud of. I want Itachi to be in my shadow. And you'll never get that. Makoto yelled back, having to raise her voice to be heard. Your father is dead, Sasuke. Dead. He will never say that. Hey, that blonde Oto nin got his father back from the dead. Why can't I? If bringing the dead back to life was that easy, then why doesn't it happen more often? Makoto countered, then closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Look, Sasuke, I need an honest answer from you. What do you want more, me as your mom or Itachi as your victim? I want both. I shouldn't have to choose. Sasuke declared. Well, I'm making you choose. It's one or the other. You can come with me to Oto and we can be a family, but Itachi gets away scot-free and you never try to find him. Or you can stay here in Konoha and keep trying to make your father's ghost happy, but you will lose me forever. You don't get to have both, Sasuke. Why not? Why do you and Dad like Itachi more than me? That is not what this is about. Sasuke clenched a fist, as if he wanted to slug his mother. Yes, it is. You like him more than me. Why else would you want him to live? I told you already. He's my son too. You're not the only one. Makoto argued. Well, if you really loved me like a mother should, then you wouldn't have hidden from me for years and you'd be trying to help me kill him. Sasuke proclaimed, stomping his foot for emphasis. You had plenty of chances to tell me who you were, and you didn't. Don't bother telling me you couldn't, because you could. You stayed away because you wanted to. You don't really love me, you just feel guilty for everything and you're trying this dumbass way to make up for it. Well, you know what? I don't need you anymore, Mom. Makoto looked drained of anger, replaced with both pain and disappointment. She said nothing, just stared at her second-born son. Wow, where'd that come from? Sasuke asked himself, making sure not to visibly show any uncertainty. All this hostility, these accusations, he honestly didn't know why he was saying all this, but now that he felt like he had gotten a burden off him. Had I been resenting her this whole time and didn't know it? Makoto closed her eyes for a moment, and Sasuke tensed, half expecting her to activate her Sharingan and attack him for insulting her. But when she opened them, they were still normal dark eyes, but sad. I see. I had hoped you had wanted a family again, but it seems you that unless you're the center of attention you don't want others around you. Perhaps you were happier thinking I was dead. Mom, I don't want you to go. Sasuke admitted. Makoto's eyes narrowed, but she was still more hurt than angry. You don't want me to go, but you don't need me to stay. You still want to get the best of both outcomes without having to give up anything. I told you, I'm making you choose. Me, or Itachi. And if you won't choose, I'll choose for you, and I can promise you that you won't like the result. Why are you doing this to me? He asked. Because you're too used to getting your way. If you come with me to Oto, that treatment is not going to continue. You will not be an elite, you will not be special, you will not be allowed to act like you own the place. You need to learn how to compromise, not just demand. That's what this is, Sasuke, your compromise. A new life, at the price of your obsession and your so-called elite status. Do you accept it? Sasuke was silent for a bit, not liking the sound of this. Being an elite was a huge part of his identity, almost as much as him being an Uchiha. While Konoha might have loved him and built him up for selfish reasons, they had at least treated him the way he wanted to be treated. Significant, powerful, essential. They had shown their true colors, they valued him only circumstantially, but they did value him and would help him reach his full potential. But only until the next time Oto takes away my Sharingan. He thought. They did it before, they can do it again. And considering what happened in the Chunin exams, I only got it back because they gave it back. Next time they could take it away permanently, like they did with Kakashi-sensei. If that happens, then Konoha will never treat me like an elite ever again. And I'd never get the chance to fight against Itachi and win anyway. Sasuke's thoughts started to run away from him, and after a moment he sighed. Mom, I don't like what you're asking, but I don't want to lose you a second time. Me neither. She said just before pulling him into a hug. Sasuke tensed for a bit, but returned it. I'll go, just give me a moment to pack. Makoto had to leave Sasuke for a bit, telling him that she was gathering her assistants who would be going to Oto with them. With Sasuke coming with her, her job as subsonic was essentially done. She had only agreed to spy on the village long enough to have this chance, and if Oto needed to spy on Konoha any further, Jiraiya could find a way. At the same time she tied a message to a falcon's leg and sent it off, sending a message to Orochimaru. So it's finally time. With those words, 3 of Subsonic's 4 underlings appeared. Flat, bass, and tenor. Makoto nodded. Yes, my time in Konoha is officially over. Thank you all for your help. Whether you choose to remain or come with me, I will support you either way. I think I speak for all of us Subsonic when I say we're better off going with you. Have you heard who the new Hokage is? Flat replied. No, who? Are they a threat? Bass laughed. Hardly. They chose Ibiki Morino. Makoto blinked. Ibiki. Why of all people him? They probably thought he'd be the most intimidating one since the village is on edge about enemies right now. Kakashi was considered an option, but due to the Yondaime turning his back on the village, his student pretty much lost all credibility here. Time's a wasting, let's go. Flat insisted. All of a sudden, dozens if not hundreds of Senbon needles shot out of the surrounding foliage, hitting all of them in non-lethal spots. Surprisingly, the only one not hit was Sasuke, but his expression showed he had no idea what was going on. Several Anbu came out and swiftly tied up the hands and ankles of Makoto and her subordinates, while Ibiki came out. So, there are more traitors to Konoha here. Trying to take a child with you. Haven't you taken enough from us already? How did you find out about them? Sasuke asked the newly appointed Hokage. Not important. What's important as far as you're concerned, boy, is if you were about to go along with them. Ibiki declared, looking at the young Uchiha as if he could make Sasuke crap his pants with just a look alone. So tell me, are you stupid enough to do that? Sasuke felt very put on the spot. He had no idea how good a fighter Ibiki actually was, and he had come here prepared. What chance did he have of fighting any of the Konoha nin off? One of them says she's my mother. I needed to get answers. But that's all I wanted, I swear. He avoided looking at Makoto after that, both to make his story at least somewhat believable and to avoid seeing if this hurt her in some way. Ibiki looked over the ninja that came with him. Take them into custody and put them in separate cells. He then looked to Sasuke. You're coming with me. All Sasuke could do was nod. He glanced to Makoto, and saw her disappear and be replaced by a log. Damn, one got away. Away in the forests, Makoto paused to breathe heavily and try to get her binds loosened. Knowing that Anbu would be hot on her trail, she couldn't do this for long, and had to substitute herself every 6 seconds or so to get some distance between her and Konoha, bound or not. Fortunately, the substitution was Makoto's best jutsu, so distance was not a problem for her. A few kilometers away from the Valley of the End, she finally managed to get free of the wire. Damn it, that went completely wrong. She muttered simply to express it. She glanced in the direction of Konoha. Just you wait, Leaf, I'm coming back, and this time I'm going on the offensive. Sasuke did not know how to feel at the moment, being confined to the Hokage's office. But he sure as hell didn't feel comfortable or particularly proud at the moment. Ibiki stood behind his desk looking out the window. Do you know what you were doing, boy? He asked, not facing the Uchiha Genin. Have I committed a crime tonight? Sasuke asked, testing the proverbial waters. You were about to abandon the village with the aid of a traitor. That constitutes as a crime. Sasuke frowned. That traitor is my mother. When we cornered you all, you said the traitor was merely claiming to be your mother. Now you speak as if you know for a fact it was her. He's trying to bait me. Sasuke thought. And you keep calling her a traitor yet aren't admitting to knowing her identity. So do you know who she is or don't you? Ibiki very slightly smiled. It wasn't often he got a kid who was made of sterner stuff than the others. Good observation. But if the person in question is indeed Makoto Uchiha, then they are indeed a traitor to Konoha. Like the Yondaime. Sasuke remarked. Ibiki lost his grin. I can understand why he did what he did, but as a professional I cannot pardon such behavior. I cannot let those that break the law get away with it just because they can rationalize their crime. To do so is to admit the law is worthless. So you're going to oppose the Yondaime merely because it's your job to? Sasuke asked. Yes. Ibiki answered, not sounding proud of it. Just like it is your job to remain faithful to Konoha. And you were caught willing to break that. I am willing to offer leniency due to your age and the manipulation put on you by your mother, but only if you are willing to cooperate. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Sorry to disappoint, but she didn't tell me anything about the Sound Village. Other than I wouldn't be a big shot there. I find that believable. The scarred interrogator replied. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. So then why are you keeping me here? What do you want from me? For now, time for you to really think about what you were about to do and realize your mistake. And give your mother a place to go when she comes back for you. I'm bait. Sasuke realized. And what makes you think she's coming back alone? I don't. Per orders, the subordinates of Subsonic were detained in 3 separate rooms. Once inside, they were unmasked. I must say, it is a surprise to see you as a traitor. The interrogator said to the shinobi codenamed Sharp, but in public known as Hana Inuzuka. Don't act like you know me. She warned. I know the Inuzuka are regarded as fiercely loyal, so you can pardon my surprise at seeing one of them committing treason. I committed no treason, I am merely more loyal to my mentor than to a vague concept. Hana argued. Konoha is not a concept, child. The interrogator claimed. Yes it is. That's exactly what it is. Hana protested. When you get down to it, what exactly is Konoha? As a physical and tangible thing. In truth, it's just a piece of land with buildings on it. No different than any other village out there, shinobi or civilian. But Konoha is your home. Only because I was born here, not because I choose to live here. If you weren't born here, would you want to live in this village? The interrogator said nothing. Konoha as you think of it is in fact nothing more than a concept. Hana continued. An idea of what the village stands for. A vision for what the village hopes to achieve. That is what you're saying I should be loyal to. And why won't you? They asked. Ideas change, like the phases of the moon. Visions are unshared, everyone has their own idea of what is best for this village and the people in it. Concepts are open to interpretation. Loyalty to something intangible and fluid is doomed to fail. I believe in giving my loyalty to a person, not a concept. And what makes this particular person worth giving your loyalty to? The interrogator asked. Hana smirked. Who do you think taught me what I just told you? While never truly a Junin sensei, in the past Makoto had offered to give some lessons to the academy students. Nothing major, more a way to give children a chance to answer questions they had about whether or not they wanted to become ninja. Usually most students went in eagerly, but after some time in the school and learning a thing or two, occasionally a few would start getting second thoughts or cold feet. The academy offered a small after-school program designed to alleviate their fears by letting them talk to adults who would reassure them. Though in most cases it was merely propaganda to encourage them to keep trying. Makoto had contributed to this a few times, and once she had to interact with a younger Hana in this. Hana had been confused about the nature of loyalty, primarily in it being automatic. Her clan had instilled that in her, and while her father didn't encourage it, like most parents he had taught her to trust authority figures. But she herself was uncertain if that was true. I'm told Konoha is worth it, but the only reason I have to be loyal to this place is because I was born here. If I had been born in Iwa or Suna, I'd be told that those villages were worth it too. So what makes Konoha so deserving of my loyalty other than the fact that this is where I am? She had asked. To her surprise, Makoto smiled at this question and patted her on the shoulder. That's an excellent question, Hana-chan, and the truth of the matter is, it isn't more deserving. Konoha's future changes every day. How can you be loyal to something that's never the same thing 2 days in a row? I can't tell you what to do or believe, but if you ask me, you should put your trust in a person you can actually talk to. Since then Hana had nothing but respect for Makoto, and she was greatly relieved when the Uchiha matriarch had revealed herself as alive after the massacre. Makoto had explained everything. Where she had been, what she had learned, why she was back, and what she intended to do, but she needed help. Hana never considered telling her no. The interrogator crossed his arms. I suppose then a case could be made that you were brainwashed at a young age. Hana rolled her eyes. Of course, because heaven forbid someone make a choice of their own to disagree with you. Oh no, it has to be brainwashing. You better go with that angle if you know what's good for you, girl. Unless you want to tell your clan head that as their heiress you willingly chose to betray them and the village. If I wasn't willing, I wouldn't be here now, would I? She asked, making it clear she was unafraid and unashamed. In another room, another interrogator was speaking to the agent known as Bass, better known as Iruka Yumino. I must admit this is a surprise. Who would have suspected a teacher of being a traitor? I wasn't always, but let's just say my mind was open to new possibilities. Iruka replied. And who exactly opened your mind? The interrogator asked. Your mother. Iruka joked, resulting in a slap. The truth was Iruka had originally been a true loyalist to Konoha, wishing to honor the village his parents had died for. Since he was never a stellar ninja himself, the best way to do that was to teach students and help them become the best they could be. For years this had remained unchanged. Then he happened to come across Makoto Uchiha. Flashback. Uchiha-san, what exactly are you teaching the children? He asked one day after the kids left the academy. Has anyone complained about me? She asked in return. You've been telling the children that they don't have to be loyal to the village. Makoto blinked then smiled. Oh that. Oh, you know how kids sometimes miss the point of the message. So you weren't telling the kids to be disloyal? Iruka clarified. No, I was telling them to not be loyal by default. By default? Iruka repeated, confused. Makoto nodded. Of course. What, are you saying that our ninja should be loyal to whoever wears the Hokage hat simply because they wear the hat? Would you seriously have no problem if tomorrow someone like Danzo came into power? That's not the kind of thing kids should be thinking about. Iruka stated. He had to admit she had a point, but he wasn't ready to concede his argument yet. So when is it okay for them to think about it? Makoto challenged. When is it okay for them to ask if the people and system they're expected to swear undying loyalty to is worth serving and dying for? When is it okay for them to think for themselves? I'm not saying that kids shouldn't be able to think for themselves. Iruka started. Makoto leaned in. If you're saying I'm wrong for telling them it's okay to have standards, then yes you are. With that, she left, leaving the scarred Chunin to think things over. End flashback. While Iruka didn't change overnight, that moment was the turning point for him. He had always had faith in the system, the ways of maintaining how ninja work in Konoha, and believed it worked because everyone knew their place within the system and didn't question it. Everyone had a job to do and it was their duty to do it to the best of their capabilities. Anything else was just being lazy or disrespectful. He tried explaining that to Makoto at another time, and she actually compared him to Danzo for it. That struck a nerve for Iruka, but when he defended his claim she logically pointed out that by putting all his faith in the system he was effectively devaluing the people that worked within it, equating them to little more than bugs in a hive or cogs in a machine. People have a natural desire to have their own goals and work to make changes that will ultimately achieve said goals. What Iruka was preaching was essentially shaming people for wanting anything other than they were assigned, and assuming that whoever did the assigning never ever had ulterior motives in doing so. After some thinking, Iruka could only conclude that the comparison was a fitting one, which broke something inside of him. No longer could he look at Konoha with unwavering faith. Makoto took the opportunity to get him to listen to the story of Oto and what she was actually doing. Needless to say Iruka was surprised and needed some kind of proof, but Naruto still being alive was a good start. And learning that all three Sannin were opposed to the Sandaime was another factor. In the end, he agreed to keep an eye on Konoha on behalf of Makoto, but he mostly did this to see for himself what he thought of the situation. Needless to say if Iruka had ever been willing to betray Makoto to Konoha, that went away in the aftermath of the invasion. Sarutobi's confession and the sight of all three Sannin betraying the village for the purpose of protecting abused children, was he supposed to side with Konoha on that? Was he supposed to say those children were supposed to be abused? As a teacher he could not do that. By the time we're done here, you'll never work in this town again. The interrogator threatened. Iruka rolled his eyes. Oh no, I'm willing to leave Konoha forever but please mister don't take away my job. That little bit of sarcasm earned him a slap, but it was worth it. In a third room in the same hallway, the third subordinate of Subsonic, the one codenamed Tenor, was being unmasked and interrogated. This citizen of Konoha just so happened to be Yoshino Nara. This was a considerable surprise to the interrogation department, and they brought in Shikaku himself to speak to her before they began a genuine procedure. It was a little unorthodox, but it was worth a shot. Yoshino, why would you be in league with our enemy? Shikaku asked, not knowing how to process this revelation. Do you know who our enemy actually is? Shikaku. Yoshino asked. A bunch of traitors who formed a village just to declare war on Konoha. Shikaku answered with a hint of bitterness. Those traitors are most of the best this village has ever produced. Maybe if it was just one of them that would just be betrayal, but all three Sannin plus the Yondaime, his wife, and a thought-to-be dead Uchiha with 4 others. Don't you think the situation's a little too complicated to be merely dismissed as yet another missing nin scenario? The Nara head had to admit she had a point. Missing nin in general occurred in small amounts, usually just individuals acting alone and at most an entire team going rogue when on a mission together. What his wife was describing was clearly a conspiracy, which meant there was more to the story. Complicated or not, it's still treason. And if you really thought nothing was wrong with what you were doing you would have told me. Shikaku claimed. Yoshino rolled her eyes. Oh yeah, I should just tell people that one of my old friends who everyone thinks is dead is alive and in league with a new village no one has ever heard of secretly being run by all three Sannin planning to give Konoha the biggest black eye in history. That's normal conversation for us. Still, if you thought these people were in the moral right you wouldn't have kept it a secret. Yoshino smirked. From Konoha, or from you? Pardon? Shikaku asked, though being a smart guy he already knew what she meant. Don't play dumb with me Shikaku, you know damn well what I'm asking. But I'm guessing I already know which offends you more. After all, you're here yet not qualified to interrogate. I'm here because I'm gentler than the professionals and confessing to me will spare you their pain. Yoshino smiled. I regret nothing, and just keep in mind husband that from this moment on regardless of any bargain you might be able to make with the higher-ups here, there no longer is a future for me in Konoha. There can't be. So when all this is over and Oto comes back to check in on us, you just need to ask yourself one thing. In what way do you love me? Shikaku was smart enough to not need to ask what she meant, but worst of all was he couldn't promise an answer. Not in the context she was asking. Late into the morning, Makoto finally appeared at the gates of Oto. Kitamaru found her breathing heavily and barely able to stand, as if she had been running a marathon even by shinobi standards, and took her to the nearest clinic. It did not take long for Tsunade and Orochimaru to become informed that she had returned, alone. What happened? Orochimaru asked, well aware that Makoto returning alone could only mean bad news. Ambushed. Makoto answered simply. This time they were ready for us. I don't know how, but they captured my son and my assistants. I got away, but I'm going to need help to get them free. Minato could get in and out no sweat. Tsunade thought out loud. Except they're most likely expecting Minato. Orochimaru countered. While he could accomplish this, I have no doubt of that, perhaps we should be more creative here. We should send the message that Oto is not to be messed with, and we have more ways to fight back than just one man. So who do you recommend? Tsunade asked. I'm thinking perhaps the Sound 4, and our recent Chunin to give them some support. Sound 4. What about Kimimaro? Makoto questioned. Last resort in case things go ugly. For now let's keep him here in case someone tries something more direct while we're focusing on getting your son and our agents back. I'm not sure I like this, but I can't say the reasoning behind it is flawed. Tsunade thought out loud. Orochimaru nodded. Then let's get the following ninja right away. In less than 20 minutes, the 5 recent Chunin and 1 recent Junin of Oto were all in Orochimaru's office standing before the Otokage. Naruto, Dosu, Kin, Sasama, Haku, and Fu, we've got a big assignment that needs to be covered immediately. Only 4 of you will be needed, so after I explain the mission should any of you wish to bow out it will not be held against you. None of the younger ninja protested, so he proceeded. Subsonic went back to Konoha in order to gather her assistants as well as her son. Thus eliminating any links we still have to the village that they could use to get back at us. However, Konoha's forces managed to intercept them and capture the 3 assistants and her son, though Subsonic was able to escape. While I have faith that the 3 will not give Konoha what they want, I believe that we owe it to Subsonic and themselves to make an effort to free them. That's where you come in. Any questions? Why only 4 of us? Fu asked. Because 4 members of the Sound 5 will be going there, to do the majority of the fighting should it come to that. 4 of you will go along to assist them both in scouting, transportation, and if needed combat. What threats should we expect? Kin asked. The same we faced when we invaded Konoha, but this time they'll be prepared. They have some understanding of our methods but not enough, and they'll be motivated by revenge and a desire to prove their superiority over the village that kicked their ass so recently. Hence why we're sending in our best Junin, but no, not the Yondaime, since they will be expecting that. Would it be a bad idea to send in Naruto-kun and Fu then? Haku asked. Wouldn't they be expecting Jinchuriki as well? Orochimaru nodded. Yes, that is a concern, however Naruto and Fu have skills that could prove useful in this mission. All of you do. Dosu's unique skills make him a wildcard they don't train for. Kin's skills would help keep enemies at bay and harder to follow any of you. Sasama is a tenacious fighter which is always good in a crisis. And Haku is an expert at using the situation to her advantage. Feeling more assured, the teens looked at each other. Now the question is which 4? Orochimaru asked. I get along well with Tayuya, so I think she'll appreciate it if I go along. Naruto suggested. Plus my bloodlines ensure I will keep the Konoha ninja on their toes. Dosu and I would be good at dealing with any trackers sent after us. Kin theorized. Kin and I do know how to coordinate our methods, but we can work separately if we have to. Dosu added. I'm not that certain about my skills, but I'm willing to help out in any way I can if I must. Sasama claimed. I'm fast and can make the enemy wear themselves out, but I must admit I'm not the heaviest hitter there is. Haku summarized. Fu stepped forward. With all due respect Otokage-sama, I believe it would be best if I stayed behind on this mission. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow. Any particular reason why? Fu nodded. Yes, my specialty is making traps, and when you're on the run you don't have the luxury of doing that. Not to mention my Kekkei Genkai works best when I have the element of surprise, and those opportunities will be limited on this mission. I believe it would be best for me to perhaps set up some traps ahead of the retrieval team that they can be informed of to avoid. This way should anyone from Konoha follow them, they will have a harder time getting to Oto before we can retaliate. The snake Sanin smiled and nodded. Good thinking. Very well, you may stay back, and be ready to prepare for your role in this. He looked to the others. Anyone else wish to back out? The teens looked at each other, silently asking themselves that same question. After a bit, Haku stepped forward. If Fu will do that, I will stay back and help her. I am the fastest of us here and can alert the others before any traps they may unknowingly run into. Orochimaru nodded again. All right, you stay back as well. The rest of you go to the southern gate and wait for 4 of the Sound 5 to meet you there. Dismissed. All teens nodded and left the office, some more in a hurry than others.